live. I am streaming again today and we're doing another reaction stream. Because last stream I was like watching a lot of game theory videos and I wanted to stream like again and I was like, okay, what do we do? Like cuz I don't I don't have any games to play right now. I mean Grand Fest Splatoon is coming up. I'll do that like when it happens. But like as it stands for now, probably react content like right now. So I I will say I have seen a little bit of this before because again, game theory fan. Um but I haven't seen the whole thing yet. And to be honest, if I have completely forgotten. I think that's very fair. FNAF lore is so messy that no matter what he gets wrong or right, it will
Three
never make
streams in a
sense.
week, nice.
Right? Because I've been really busy running around and like really productive lately. Also, the second chapter of my first webcomic is coming up. It's gonna be finished tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, that's also there. But for now, who gives a shit? Let's get into it. I this is like a playlist that like was made by someone else and I haven't actually checked what's in it yet. But as far as I know, there are three or maybe four videos, which like divides into the first video being like the first era of like the like Afton backstory, the FNAF era, and like the mic stuff, and then the digital stuff, which like okay, we'll get into it.
We end the torment.
Let me
19
know.
books.
Let me know if like the audio's alright. I'm pretty sure I kept the settings the same, but sometimes it fucks up.
11 games, 8 whole years, all leading
That's
to this
crazy.
moment. The ultimate FNAF timeline is finally complete. The pieces are in place for us. Now all we have to do is put this story of tragedy, jealousy, and loss back together.
Can we talk about how weird this like story is? Like even like the confirmed part. Here's the thing, right? People say all the time that like, oh, Mad Pat get his series wrong. He's like, you know, not that good. He's too outlandish about it. The thing is like FNAF. Okay, the thing is theorizing is fun. It's all for, you know, entertainment and like whatever makes sense, right? But like FNAF lore is already like a thing that doesn't make sense on its own, even if like it's a part that is confirmed. That's the like weird part, because like you can never say like, yeah, that's super wrong, that's super outlandish. And then you look back at the canon and you're like, I mean, it's also nuts there though.
Hello, Internet!
Hello,
Welcome to
Mad Pat.
Game Theory, the show that feels like a kid revealing the class project that he's been working on all year. Except here, it's the class project that I've been working on for the past decade of my life.
That's
this
crazy.
one is big, my friends, and I gotta admit, kinda nervous. I haven't attempted a timeline video on this franchise since 2018. Back in the days when Mike was the crying child, Afton coming back was actually a surprise, and Fazgoo wasn't a phrase I'd ever thought I'd have to utter. But since the
Fair.
last time I did something like this, we've had
Fazgoo
three
is a
more
nuts
massive
word to say.
games, the death and revival of the FNAF movie, and more robot kids than you can shake a staff bot at. It is exhausting trying to keep track of this whole franchise, which honestly is why I'm here today.
As far as I know, like the controversy about like Mad Pat getting his like stuff wrong is because of like a lot of what his series is like based on the books and like stuff that parallels it, and like people sometimes don't take that. That's like whatever. I'm not involved in the fandom. Let's just keep
Lore
going.
At this point is complicated. It is
Yes,
full of
there's so
speculation
fucking
and
much.
theory. So to hopefully make it a little easier for everyone and to give us all a baseline to talk about this franchise moving forward into the future, it's time to reveal my current working FNAF timeline. But just before I do, I just want to explain a couple of things. First, this timeline is massive. Seriously,
Yeah,
it is
that's-
huge. This thing towers over any video project we have ever done on the channel. But when you look at the totality of this franchise, the story of FNAF really boils down to the story of one man, William Afton. His successes, his failures, his rise to becoming co-owner of one of the most successful restaurant franchises in the world, and his eventual fall to the monsters he helped to create, only to then be reborn in a new digital
See, I hate this so much. I like okay. There is like a point in which you can argue that, yeah, FNAF should have ended here. For me, that was before it started making digital stuff. Cause like, I get it, right? This is for the new age stuff to sell more glossy looking merch, and for the VR game it makes sense. But the problem is that the plot feels so like, I don't know, it feels like so wildly weird, even like compared to what's come before it. Like, it doesn't feel good, you know? It feels like they're really trying to like pull stuff out of nowhere, because at this point, with a limited character roster, they've like digitalized things and made it like more complicated, but also like marketable. Like, I don't know, I just don't really like the new era. But you know, it should have ended at like the FNAF 6 like the FNAF Pizzeria burning, but whatever.
Later. That's why I've decided to split this timeline into 3 main chunks. The foundation of Freddy's, how the business started and how it came into being,
Fair.
the Afton era, William's decades-long murder spree, and post-Purple Guy. Basically modern FNAF. Everything
Yeah, modern FNAF sucks. Also, it's kind of crazy that it lasted a decade of Afton killing people. I get that like the timeline of like the murder spree happened when cops are even more useless than today because of lack of technology and how hard it is to investigate something. But dude, a decade of murdering kids, like, I don't think that will fly like then, you know?
that happens after the Pizzeria simulator fire. And because there are lots of new big revelations in this thing that seemingly come out of nowhere, as well as just points I want to talk about further, I decided to dedicate one episode to each chunk. I originally wanted it to be one seamless continuous video, but it just felt...
I do know that there are 3 like videos for this, but the question is what I am watching right now. Like, I get that it's probably the prerequisite, but like when I saw this playlist, I was like, why there's like 4?
Willem is a king though.
Okay. I won't ask. Okay, but like for real, I think like when it comes to characters and in like FNAF, like human tangible characters, it's hard to like or dislike. Well, we can dislike the mass murderer, but it's like the characters of them are like super vague, so it's never sure how they actually are and motivations behind their certain actions, like majority of the time.
Incomplete without some sort of explanation at the end of each one. Once this whole thing's done, I promise I'm gonna merge all the narrative bits into one massive video so you can just skip my explanations. But for now, this just felt like the best, most satisfying, most complete way to do this. That being said, this is still about the story, the broad strokes of the franchise. So in order to make sure that you guys know that I'm not just pulling answers out of thin air, not only am I discussing some of the more controversial bits at the end of each chunk,
I know what he's talking about. I do remember when his theory about security breach came out, and he was like, Gregory is a crying child, and people went insane for a bit. And like I just look, as outlandish and as like MatPat does his thing, the thing is like FNAF as a franchise is already like nuts enough that it would be believable, maybe, because you know how FNAF is nowadays. But like I don't know, man. Like, it could be, it also could just not be, because I feel like in my head I want more characters, more human characters to be introduced that is not the same roster. I feel like we should be more open to that idea, because again, it's the same like 2 family that we keep recycling, using their like souls that are, I mean, some of them don't even have the will to live anymore. We just keep recycling them. I feel like introducing a new character would probably be fine, but hey.
Putting in a handy little graphic in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, which will show thumbnails, video titles, books, and any other citations that we need throughout the video. So if you wish to understand that specific statement in more detail, you know exactly where we've taken it from. That way you can look into those details for yourself. So sit back, grab some popcorn, or your pitchforks if you're the type to get upset when I say something controversial, and make sure that you subscribe, since this is going to be a video that you're going to want to come back to a few times in order to fully dissect. Without any more waiting, I present to you the story of a
don't have to
loving,
tell me. me twice.
obsessive father who slowly descended into madness and along the way discovered the secret to eternal life. Our story begins not in the 1980s, or even in the 1970s, but all the way back in the 1930s. It was the throes of the Great Depression, and people were in desperate need of cheap entertainment, especially in Utah, one of the states hit hardest, fourth highest unemployment in the nation, and full of transients. People looking for work in Salt Lake,
we have a
none,
location.
and
That's
moving on
nice.
to find their fortunes out in California. People were tired and they were hungry, but as they traveled, there was one thing that could lift their spirits: a simple roadside attraction called Fredbear's Singin' Show. The ads were plastered all over town, featuring an animated bear drawn in the popular pie-eyed cartoon style for characters at the time. He resembled cartoons like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Betty Boop. It immediately said that this, Fredbear's, was a place where you could bring the family. And the
Like
price,
a real-ass
honestly,
bear?
couldn't be beat. For 50 cents, you could get food and entertainment as you
that's
watched
gas.
the local trained real-life dance.
Why don't we have this though? No, there's probably a reason, but I would pay to see a singing bear. I feel like as a not singing, a dancing bear. I get it.
Dancing bear perform on stage. Normally, you only got to see dancing bears at large traveling circuses like Barnum and Bailey, where the tickets would
Never
go for
seen
about $1. That's $1 without food. But this was a smaller show, like the type from the Vaughn brothers or the Robbins brothers, where tickets would sell for just a mere 50 cents. Watching that bear do tricks on stage brought a glimmer of joy at a time when so much was wrong with the world. The simple show would go on for years, bringing happiness to hundreds of travelers passing through looking for a quick meal. But it left a permanent impression on one little boy, capturing his imagination in a way that nothing else had. One little boy
get it.
named Billy. That was his nickname at least, but his parents like to call him William.
Okay, where does Billy comes from? I know I'm like not an expert on whatever happens in the FNAF canon. Why is it Billy? Look, I know that like I have no idea how like, you know, nicknames work like across the pond. But if your son's name is William, do you just call him Billy? Is that a thing? I don't know, but that's weird to me because to me, foreigners, English speakers, like use like their like first name, shorten it and turn it into a nickname. Like William in my head would be just Will. Why is it Billy? I don't understand, but hey, maybe that's just me.
William Afton. The bear could dance, it could sing. For decades, William dreamed of recreating that moment of bringing a musical bear to life, but how? William was smart, without a doubt, and he had a keen mind for business, but he wasn't the most creative. How do you make a singing, dancing bear come to life? The best he could do was using rudimentary costumes. William was inspired by the work of Walt Disney, who throughout the 50s and 60s was pioneering the use
I
of
really don't blame MatPat for inserting like real life events into this thing because you know like who did that? It was FNAF. Like they put like deadass Scott Cawthon in the game. I think it's somewhat fair to put real life events in it.
Mascot suits throughout his theme park. The big innovation? Suits with 5 fingers. This allowed the performers wearing the suits to use their natural arms and hands to interact with the guests, as opposed to the older models where the arms would just hang limply by their sides. Finally, with a simple mascot suit, he would be able to realize his childhood dream. He would be able to bring Fredbear to life. To appeal to the kids, and for copyright reasons, he changed Fredbear from a realistic
old
brown
Yonky
animal
twist.
to a cartoonish yellow bear with a purple hat and bow tie. But
this is
like
where
one
Golden
character
Freddy
wasn't
comes
enough,
from.
he added
Right?
another
Or
friend,
is
a
it
yellow
just-
rabbit with a purple vest and matching tie named Bonnie the Bunny. Well, Fredbear was certainly his first love. Bonnie was extra special because that was his. It was an original character that he had created from scratch. And I do mean scratch. William's hand-sewn costumes were rough with seams and stitches visibly showing, but it was the best that he could do. And you know what? It was just enough.
This is, I'm pretty sure, the glitch trap, I think. This is the name that appears in the VR game. But like, why is that? Okay. It makes sense for the digital manifestation to be the first costume he's ever made. Kind of.
Bonnie and Fredbear would perform on stage to small but enthusiastic crowds. Finally, he was able to deliver fantasy and fun to all the kids, delighting and inspiring them in the exact way that he had been delighted and inspired so many years ago. And things could have ended there. That could have been the end to his story. It could have been perfect had it not been for one thing. Other people saw the success of his idea.
There we go.
They wanted
I know where this is going.
Chica's Party World, a rival restaurant starring performing animal characters.
Never mind.
His idea, except they did it better. William may have been the first, but obviously he wasn't the best. It hurt the prideful William Afton to admit it, but this restaurant was able to do the thing that he always wanted to do: make the animals actually come to life. All of the performers in this restaurant were robots, simple metal skeletons that were powered by battery
Why
packs.
Chica?
All of them able to freely turn and talk and dance on their own, no human required. It was like magic that came from the mind of a brilliant creator named Henry Emily. This
that
Henry,
one I saw coming.
In some small way, had been able to harness the power of life itself. Afton admired him. He was jealous, to be sure, but he also looked upon this man with awe. Off to one side of Chica's Party World was a small cabaret stage featuring an elephant magician. On the other, a hippo known to ramble on and on. That one was more of a joke for the parents, but it was the main stage that was for the kids. A rocking band of characters featuring a yellow chicken thing.
I was not the former Chica I expected. I get it that like the undamaged version doesn't exist to us,
with
but
a
like
southern drawl named Chica, backed by a band of other country-themed characters, including a pig with a banjo, an upbeat frog from the local swimming hole, and a brown bear with a heavy southern accent. Wait, a bear? But bears were his animals. Why
you
not
did
a cow
steal a
or a
concept
horse,
of
something
singing
to fit
bear
the
there.
country theme a bit better? Why did it have to be a bear? And adding insult to injury, they had the nerve to call this thing Ned Bear, a direct copy of his own Fredbear. What?
It's fine to like it you can see the connection, but like he also did the yoink and twist himself. I don't think he can be mad about it. I guess he's just better that like Henry did better. I get that. But
that's gonna leave a mark.
No, that was not okay. Afton's jealous admiration turned to hardened bitterness. A bitterness that would only grow over the next couple of years as families continued to choose Chica's
Chica?
Party World over Fredbear's. William just couldn't compete with the appeal of the robots. Eventually, his restaurant would go bankrupt, only to get bailed out by, of course, Henry Emily. Another insult, another humiliation that William wouldn't soon forget. 1979. Despite being bitter, Afton couldn't deny that what came next was a period of massive success and expansion. With the two franchises now merged into one, it was the best of both worlds. Afton's ideas with Henry's robotic expertise.
Afton's idea weren't that great. Can we all just like sit down and like he's not that much of a creative head that like that it's that worth it. I think we can all agree that yeah. I mean, if it weren't for Henry Emily, he wouldn't have done anything. His craftsmanship was not that great. I don't think.
Two men decided to launch under
not
a new
his
name.
craftsmanship, just his creative liberty in general. Cause like yeah, I get it. Like just animal mascots. Chuck E. Cheese did somewhat the same thing, but like the design and like everything about like what Henry did was way better, and I don't see how like Afton can like
Fredbear's Family Diner, a pizza chain that would eventually come to feature a mix of humans in performing suits as well as on-stage animatronics. They decided to stick with Fredbear as the headliner, considering the yellow bear was easily identifiable as a brand and because he was the original performing animal mascot. Afton appreciated that. This new restaurant would also see a mix of characters as the two franchises merged into one, with Pig Patch and Happy Frog performing right alongside Fredbear and Bonnie. And as part of this one big Fredbear family, they even got themselves official merch that were released, ranging from masks to magnets.
The crappy Mr. Hippo fridge magnet?
Oh, come on.
Sorry, Gregory.
That said, not all the characters were winners. The reception to some characters was just mediocre, so they faded away into the dumpster, storage units, and retro budget tech stores of lost nostalgia.
I guess people were annoyed about Mr. Hippo.
Limelight if and when a headliner went out of commission. Others, though, would fare much better, like a new Pirate Fox, as well as a blue guitar-playing variant of the yellow Bonnie Bunny. Ultimately, the franchise would get so big it would spawn its own cartoon show, Fredbear and Friends. Business was booming. In the end, Fredbear and Bonnie's popularity would be so strong that they would be able to support the Fredbear's Family Diner franchise all on their own, while also
I get it, but also this bear is so ugly. The only like the marketable like version I feel is like the glam rock one that I can see people actually like liking to a certain extent, because like people want to fuck some of them, like the OGs, but like come on.
Setting off a new sister location dedicated to their
But
friends.
it's somewhat
In
realistic, right?
1983,
Because like
Freddy
Chuck E. Cheese, some of them have like really like mangled looking mascot animals, and people still like Chuck E. Cheese. I think I've never been to one, never had the opportunity, but like if people like it, there's clear something there, right? But like if you're gonna make a chicken, at least don't put teeth on it. That's just me. It's fine.
Fazbear's Pizza launched, given a dedicated
for the
home
horror
to all this
effect
new supporting
and not for,
cast of
like,
characters.
in-universe.
Chica the chicken, Bonnie the
Oh.
blue bunny, Foxy the pirate, and of course the headliner, a brown Freddy Fazbear. Business was
Freddy
good, and
Fazbear.
Afton was happy, mostly. It did bother him that the one original character that he created,
Oh,
the one that
yeah.
he himself played, Golden Bonnie, got passed over for inclusion in that cartoon show. The only character in the roster of regulars to get ignored for the show, but other than that, things were going smoothly. He had himself a wife, 2 sons, a daughter, he had a thriving business, and best of all, he was able to learn the craft of robotics from the man that he both loved and hated, Henry. Together, they were constantly pushing the limits of what these characters could do. Because it was quick and easy, new characters introduced into the roster would be given a simple hand-sewn suit with 5 fingers that any performer could wear. Eventually, Henry would design one of his signature animatronics for that character, utilizing a divided mouth with either a hinged or sliding jaw design. This was the first generation of animatronics. But why stop there? Afton had big ideas. What if the animatronics weren't just locked to the stage, but could freely roam the restaurant and interact with the kids? What if his mascot
Okay.
suits could become animatronics?
I
What if
get-
you could use
I
more
get
than
it,
just
I get
rigid
it,
metallic
but-
skeletons? Why not
Ooh.
experiment with tubes and wires that would give the animatronics fluidity and flexibility while still providing structure? The possibilities for
Okay, like can we talk about like the face like splitting like structure of baby? Cause I feel like this wasn't necessary. Like I get it, I do. I do love baby, but I feel like not all of those like, you know, separated parts need to be necessarily. Cause like I feel like we could have gotten a similar thing without inherently looking torn apart, kind of like
this technology were endless.
Maybe not
Afton
with
fell in
above the
love
eyebrows.
with robotics. He had started with a dream of bringing one simple singing bear to life, but with robots, he had stumbled across the tools that gave him the ability to control life itself. And thanks to Henry, he was practically speedrunning his way to an engineering degree. And while William wouldn't admit it out loud, one other thing that kept pushing him forward was the desire to beat his former rival, to prove himself smarter and more capable, to surpass the man who everyone else considered to be a visionary genius. But pride cometh before the fall, and tragedy was about to strike. Okay, so that brings us to the end of part 1 of the story. That said, at the end of each of these chunks, I want to break down some of the logical leaps that I made, since the more narrative format doesn't give me much of a chance to justify a lot of the big decisions. And admittedly, there are some large leaps in here. Let's just start off with
Mostly I
Fredbear
just
Singing Show,
don't
shall
get
we?
it.
We know, based on the retro poster that was hidden in Security Breach, that at least at one point, Fredbear was an actual bear. And like I called
wait, okay. The wonderful Fredbear Singing Show, music, food, beverage, entertainment. How do we know it's an actual bear though? Maybe it's here somewhere. I don't know. In the very
out in
small
that
fine
narrative
print.
segment, dancing bear shows were a real form of entertainment. The
I
only
guess it
problem
makes
is that
sense for the time because it couldn't be like anything else mostly. I don't think.
that timing-wise, none of our main characters would be the people in charge of that business in the 30s and a series of pizza restaurants in the 80s without them just being extremely old. Best case scenario, if Afton's running the singing show when he's 18, that still puts him at nearly 70 when the first pizzeria opens and his murder spree begins.
I mean,
it just
he's-
doesn't make a lot of logical sense.
Even if he
because
was a
doesn't
child, then he would still be quite old.
become immortal until his first death in Springtrap. That's why I suspect that Fredbear's Singing Show was either a family business that Afton then carried on to a new generation, or something that he saw as a kid and just wanted to recreate when he grew up. The Fredbear Singing Show thing also starts laying the groundwork for some of the core elements of this story, that Freddy's was a place of fantasy and fun, and that Afton, despite eventually falling to become the heartless serial killer and mad scientist that we know him as, began as
scientist.
someone with good intentions and a love of entertaining kids. He wanted to bring things brings to life from the very beginning, a theme that recurs a lot for him throughout the rest of the franchise. Next up, let's talk about those mascot costumes. One thing that I keep going back to is the design of Glitch Trap. It's a handcrafted suit. You can see the seams and everything. It even has 5 fingers for the performer's hands. It is very much not a Springtrap suit. This is something much more rudimentary. It came at a time before animatronics were a part of the story. That's why I suspect that it was actually the first, predating literally everything. It's also a suit that is very personal to Afton. He put his digital consciousness in that form. It's his personal avatar.
So it's exactly
the
what
way
I thought.
that he sees himself. There's also a whole separate
So that's
discussion
why
we had
the
here
VR
about the
game.
habits and rituals of serial killers. So the fact that he's choosing to lure kids and kill them in this particular...
Okay, I will admit, modern FNAF does do this particular, like, feeling of, like, aliveness in the costume very well. Like, I feel like there's a person there, and it's very eerie.
Suit actually
Like,
says a lot
yeah,
about
that's-
his emotional attachment to
that
it.
is very
so, while
slimy.
Fredbear
That's a
seems to have
pedophile.
started as someone else's creation.
Okay, to clarify, he doesn't fuck kids, he just kills them. But wild, right? Because, like, I remember, like, people talking about, like, William and, like, there was, like, one person who was, like, he's, like, a predator and fucks kids, and, like, he is a serial killer, he does not fuck kids. That's the
Murder
line.
is not very nice, sad face.
Yeah, that's not very nice. I feel like that's a very rude thing to do. From minor inconvenience to ruining someone's life, it depends. But the fact that, like, it went on for a decade baffles me still. But yes,
And
not
Golden
very
Body
nice.
was
Whoa, that
uniquely
went
Williams, giving him a
VIWNA
personal connection.
I didn't, like, I didn't... No. Listen, like, you know how, like, your parents will tell you, like, you know, don't follow strangers? That, like, particular clip of Glitch Trap in a, like, a mascot costume luring you behind the curtains, it definitely gives that vibes. I just said it without thinking, but I have clarified. Canonically, he's just a murderer and not a pedophile. In any of the FNAF canon, pedophilia has stayed out of the picture, as far as I'm concerned, which is nice.
And that's not all. In this
First time in my life I have ever come to a serial killer's defense, but
whole franchise, only one set of
Pedophilia
characters
is not
have
involved.
themselves 5 fingers. The Nightmares. Even
Huh?
Golden Freddy,
Where's this going?
Fredbear was a 5-fingered wearable suit at one point in the story, as we see in this shot from the graphic novel, before he, like everyone else, was turned into an animatronic. This seems to imply that all of the main characters had similar wearable...
But I do wonder how, like, structured it would be for, like,
I am glad you've come to that conclusion.
yeah, I would not like to go anywhere else within that, like, timeline, within that conversation line. I don't think any other route was possible for me to go through.
mascot outfits at least at one point in time, and that whoever is having the FNAF 4 nightmares, if they even are nightmares, something that we'll touch on in part 2, saw
Oh my
those
God.
mascot suits specifically. Lastly, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the literal elephant, Orville Elephant, as well as the rest of the Mediocre Melodies. For a
Yeah,
while now,
I do have a bit of, like, I mean, we know that, like, the exact version that he's trying to convey was in the Mediocre Melody of Chica doesn't exist undamaged, but, like, it's weird how glossy they are, you know? Like, the old classic animatronics that, like, happened after the Mediocre Melody all have a certain degree of, like, oldness to them. So, like, when I see, like, the fucking Mediocre Melody in, like, glossed out, clean, vibrant paint, I'm just like, that's no way they're that old.
I've suspected that the Mediocre Melodies played a much more important role in the story than just being a bunch
Understand
more
it's 1
animatronic.
a.m. where I am, so it takes a while for my chat to reach your side LMAO.
No, it's not just you being 1 a.m. where you are. It does have chat delay. It takes there is a delay from chat to my OBS, and then also to VTS POG where TTS is read out, so that's why. But it is fine. There's a delay. I do see chat relatively quickly. It's still relevant, don't worry.
Next to fill out the roster, especially Nedbear, which is just so
Yeah.
suspiciously close to Fredbear. And yet, there are 2 key details
You
that
get what I mean? Like, the Mediocre Melodies look like they're made of, like, a newer material to me. Like, compared to the classic roster that happens after that, which is weird to me. but I don't know, cause like they maybe have gotten like remade in some way, and we don't see how the original looks. I don't know.
We're gonna have to justify with any Mediocre Melodies mention. One, they're very rudimentary with external battery packs, implying that they come very early in the timeline. And two, we know that at minimum, Mr. Hippo does eventually become an official member of the extended Freddyverse. But if these
That's
things are
like
supposed
funny to me, because the fact that like Mr. Hippo has always been like a looming character in the background, just like
Dude, the UCN lines from them are cold, face.
the fact that like Mr. Hippo has been looming over the entire franchise is very funny to me. I do like Mr. Hippo in a very like love-hate like way.
be cheap generic rip-offs, why would you be trying to rip off yourself? You wouldn't. You would be stealing someone else's ideas. So if Afton created Fredbear, there would have to be some rival franchise. The only other person who would likely be ripping him off? Henry. We've talked extensively about how the Mediocre Melodies are clearly Henry's design aesthetic, so it just has to be him. I don't think Henry's doing this maliciously.
Okay.
He doesn't strike me as the type. He was likely building the robots at the orders of someone else that was
For the record, there's gonna be like a lot of like citing previous series that he's made, and we're just not gonna get a long explanation for it, which you're not gonna get from this video. But we're just gonna trust him on that. He's come to that conclusion.
running a rival
I am
restaurant
interested in why it is specifically Henry that made the Mediocre Melodies. I might read up on it, but
But that's enough motivation to start Afton down a path of jealous rivalry, but also begrudging admiration. As the Freddy Files Ultimate Edition says, it's important to
What a
revisit the beginning
pathetic
of Henry and
man.
William's relationship, so here you go. I think this is where it begins. Also, this is future Matt Pat here coming back to add this one in. Seems like the recently released character encyclopedia has backed up all of this speculation. I've had this timeline written for about a month now, but I've also been holding off a bit to see what wrenches this character encyclopedia might throw into it. And on this particular point, I gotta say, it seems like we might actually have nailed it. They actively call out the suspicious similarities to the main
the off-brand bear, that's very like, oh yeah, that does feels very like explicitly the off-brand bear, straight up. But like, okay, it's Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria Simulator, it's my custom night, security breach. Wait, Nedbear's appearance security breach, is it just like his merch? Cause like I know there's Mr. Hippo badges and stuff, fridge magnets and stuff.
He tried to release you. He tried to release us. Us. But I'm not gonna let that happen. Let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here. Keep you here. No matter how many times.
I don't know if you're doing a sing-along or not, but you better goddamn stop.
Fredbear crew. Quote from one of the pages. Nedbear looks like an imitation, altered just enough to avoid copyright issues. I don't know about you, but that seems to imply that we were right on the money. Knowing all of this, at one point the franchises had to have merged. That's really the only way that you get Mr. Hippo from the rival franchise as part of the Fazbear crew. This also mirrors a lot of what happened in the real life.
I know he's gonna bring up Chuck E. Cheese because of the real life comparison thing he's been doing this entire time. But seeing Chuck E. Cheese feels a little unreal, you know?
Horrible elf quotes.
Oh, real elephant coat. Oh, it's the one from Custom Night, isn't it? I do remember the he tried to release you thing. I think, was it? Yeah, right? Cause like the animatronic line, I don't remember much of it except for of course Mr. Hippo. I think someone out there is memorizing the entire script, I believe. Orville. Oh yeah.
History of Chuck E. Cheese, with two rival restaurants, each with their own casts of characters.
Ugh. You see what I mean? Like, I find it like a little bit of a whiplash that FNAF as a restaurant franchise was be able like to thrive when the animatronics frankly look terrifying and not friendly to kids, and then we cut to this and I'm like, okay, but that's fair though. I feel like it's pretty close to reality, you know? And Chuck E. Cheese did do good.
To become one unified brand. Again, we've gone into that in detail.
Oh my god, the mascot on the right looks like straight up my sleep paralysis demon. That's straight up like reality is often more like, it's often worse. I think it It's the words I'm trying to say. It's often worse than fiction.
with other videos. Just wanted to remind you all of that here.
Why is
But
this food theory? He's citing food theory right now. He made a food theory video about Chuck E. Cheese? Hello?
I-I-wa-S-C-F-I-R-S-T-S-T-T-S.
That one I know is from
Ha
Chica.
Avenue They Seen EVERYTHIG.
Oh, also, TTS is not, TTS isn't good at reading glitches and wingdings, I'm afraid. I know that's from Chica.
unified brand. Again, we've gone into that in detail with other videos, just wanted to remind you all of that here. But why
fuck
would
is
I
this?
call out the rival restaurant as being named Chica's Party World?
Yeah.
Few things, actually. First, we know for a fact that a location named Chica's Party World exists. It is mentioned in the source code teasing sister location.
Source code? Teasing sister location. Wait, what was teasing sister location? Client, Chica's Party World, birthday accessories, novelties. One line?
Yeah, I noticed.
Dude, we're pulling from the source code now.
So it is out there somewhere and doesn't fit cleanly anywhere. Second, in the story The Puppet Carver, Chica is very explicitly looped in with the book
Here we
versions
go,
of Pig
the
Patch
books.
and Ned Bear, implying that she started as a mediocre melody. Thirdly, her design just fits better with a theme of down-home
Southern.
country animals
Yep.
with southern accents playing the banjo and
I will say though, Cupcake doesn't really has a role, a place in that like feel of it, but I do get it. Chica does fit, kind of.
eaten with bibs. And with her being the headliner of the show with her name on the restaurant, it would make sense then that when the restaurants merged, she was the one that was added to the main cast of characters while all the other mediocres faded away. It's also why when Freddy
Except for
closes
Mr.
after
Hippo.
William's
He's
killing
gotta
spree,
stay.
she's the one to branch back off into her old
Bars.
franchise and is therefore missing in sister location. A detail that's bothered me for years at this point. It might also explain why William decided to stuff his first dead kid into Chica. That one was Henry's creation, not his. Is all of this a big leap?
He's such a
Yeah.
dick,
Is it
man.
connecting a
What
lot
the
of dots
fuck?
that are very spread out across the franchise that I've been holding on in the back of my mind for years? Absolutely. But I think it makes sense. It also serves as a clean answer to a lot of the random threads that Scott's been leaving dangling for years. So with all of that in mind, my friends, we can close the book on the foundation of Freddy's. And don't worry, next week I'll be back to give you arguably one of the most confusing parts of this
There's
entire
still
timeline situation.
a chunk
Part
of the
2,
video
the
left.
Afton era. I promise, it will actually be next week this time. No more waiting around. I am just...
Okay, it's probably talking about like the next video, right? Let me just go ahead.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, and officially page 7 of the FNAF timeline script. Last time we covered the
Dude, I know a lot of people discredit MadPat, like, because, oh my god, he's, like, really ridiculous and out there. But, like, the team behind, like, especially this particular, like, project thing, would probably, like, work their whole ass off. Like, the FNAF timeline is complicated enough to be summarized by, you know, a one person or one team. But the fact that, like, it's this long, that, like, okay, I will admit to yoink and twisting, because I do know a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers that don't know anything about FNAF reacted to this as a good source of information, which I like, because, you know, it's fun. I think it's all about that. But the fact that it happens because it's so fucking long, I like have an entire stream time to react to this particular thing, which
right?
is nice.
Like, even if he's wrong, he put so much time into it.
Exactly. And like even MadPat is such like an idol in a way to me, because he works so goddamn hard that like I'm baffled even when he's like retired. I watch him like nowadays on GT Live sometimes, and he's gonna like he's gonna start talking about like a crazy project he's been a part of, and like a really short vacation he went on with his family, and then continue to talk about a lot of work he's done behind the scenes for a lot of theories channels. It's like, when will you actually stop working though? It's literally a father and like still do
Hello.
this. Hello, welcome to the stream.
origins of Freddy's. We talked about William Afton's childhood dream project of making a singing bear come to life, and the infuriating moment that his dream is copied by a rival restaurant franchise looking to steal away his success. The merger of the two franchises results in William meeting Henry, a brilliant designer with a knack for robotics. Working together, they make Fredbears flourish, spawning popular Saturday morning cartoon shows, toy lines, and spin-off restaurants under the Fazbear name. When last we left him, Afton was thriving, the world of robotics opening his eyes to new and exciting ways of bringing characters to life.
Bring in the kid murder. I'm ready for it.
That was his core driving force, his passion. And it was this very
A
passion
game
that would
theory.
mutate, twist, and morph from here on out in the story.
Real.
Because with life, there is inevitably death. Something that Afton would become intimately familiar with. But before Afton acquaints himself with death, I want you to take some time to acquaint yourself with our newest channel.
Woo!
Guys, this is a huge...
Oh my god, I don't know how long this video was released, but the fact that like I got flashback to like the release of Style Theory. Style Theory is relatively probably still new, but like it feels like a point in my life that I actually like remember.
Moment for us theorists.
And he's like barely like there because, you know, the Final Theories channel release, he retired.
For the last decade, we've had this four-player controller icon, and now we finally fill in the
Style
final
Theory.
missing piece. Get ready for the rollout of our newest theorist channel. Drumroll, please. Style Theory, where we're looking at the science, math, psychology, history, and mystery of the way you look, your clothes.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not that into Style Theory. Like it makes somewhat sense to have a theory channel about fashion. It's a very massive thing that you can pull a lot of content out of. I just don't think that I'm the person to be interested in it that much. Same somewhat goes for Fruit Theory. I feel like it makes sense for two channels to be about pop culture and media consumption, and the other to be regular, like, you know, mundane consumption, like food and clothes. Like, it makes sense. I just don't think I have ever seen, like, more than 2 Style Theory videos. I'm quite, like,
fashion trends, hygiene, and makeup. Now, I know that theorizing about style might sound weird at first, but hear me out. I grew up not understanding style or fashion at all.
He's a theater kid, though.
Blissfully ignorant to the impact that style has over your life and how the world treats you. But over time, by educating myself...
No, listen, it also makes sense because he has a fashion brand.
Me personally, I think Style Theory is an excuse to fill in the last part of the logo colors.
I think somewhat, but not... I think it's more because they have a whole clothing, like, brand now. It used to be Theory Wear, like, it's just merged about, you know, game theory, film theory, and whatever. But now there's, like, actual clothes that, like, aimed at normal consumers. And I feel like that coincides a lot with why Style Theory exists. But I think it also makes sense as a concept that, like, fashion is a very vast thing that you can take a lot of, like, jab at, do a lot with it, you can take it very far, but also they have a clothing line.
On the ins and outs of the fashion industry, I was better able to achieve my true self and find my own sense of personal style.
Oh my god. He's, like, I'm so baffled. Like, just look at him. He is, like, what? He's older than Markiplier. That, like, blows my mind, right? Because, like, when I don't remember exactly how old they are, but I do exactly remember that he's older than Markiplier, and that blows, like, my head off so hard that, like, what do you mean he's older than Markiplier? I get it, he's a father.
I'd be sitting out
It,
at
like,
school with them game theory slides WDYM bro.
And that right there, that builds confidence.
Confidence.
The way that you look directly affects the way that you feel and the way that other people treat you. So
Fair.
Understanding those rules and being able to take some control over all of that is incredibly valuable. It's an educational curve. And what do we do on these channels? We like to educate you while entertaining you. Which honestly
I do
is why I
appreciate
think this
that.
channel is so important for us to launch.
It's kind of weird how much I actually learned stuff that I didn't know before from, like, theory channels as a whole. Because, like, it really does try to, like, educate you on subjects that are not exactly, like, you know, fiction. Especially game and film theory. They always like to tie in, like, real stuff, real science, real math, real historical, like, events, which, like, I kind of am a fan of. We know that the target audience a lot of the times is children, and they do great work with that.
There
But
are
like, they also educate me because I'm stupid.
so many lies and half-truths in the fashion industry that there needs to be someone out there to say, hey, this is right, this is wrong, and this is what science says. Also, you know, we're gonna have a lot of fun because talking about fashion is weird. Like, this channel has already given me the excuse
Oh,
to
yeah.
bludgeon a ballistic head to death using a high heel. It's also the channel where we're gonna physically be testing the
They do have
viability
fun.
of female armor,
We'll
or how
say.
many t-shirts it takes to stop a bullet. There's also practical everyday stuff too on this channel. Do school uniforms actually benefit the students? Does it make a difference whether or not you wash your legs in the shower? That's the sort of stuff that you can find on this new channel. In fact, there are 5 new episodes that you can check out right after you finish this beast of an upload. I personally recommend starting with the Killer Heel episode because this episode's all about the birth of a killer. And while you're over there, consider subscribing. It'll do all of us over here a
Matt Pat
huge
should have won the
favor. 'Cause
Mr. Beast YouTuber challenge. Unbiased opinion, by the way.
I mean, for me, I didn't even watch it, the YouTubers challenge thing. But Jaden won, right? I do know that Jaden made like a video about it. I am glad that Jaden won. I do like her a lot. As also unbiased opinion because I'm Arrow Ace, but like there's a lot of awesome creators. But the thing is, I'm glad that Jaden won, and I would have been glad if MatPat won. The thing is, there are some people there that I absolutely do not want to win. Like Logan Paul's there, right? And I was like, okay, I would love for MatPat, for Jaden, for the creators that I feel like do great work and doing they are great. They're great people to win. If fucking Logan Paul win, dude, I am going down and I'm taking Mr. Beast with me.
if we manage to get 1 million subscribers by the end of the month, it'll put us as a top fashion channel here on YouTube. Show the world that looking smart can be even better than looking cool. So go ahead, enjoy your all-day theory marathon. And now with our logo complete, it's time to complete our other massive ongoing project, this timeline.
Snap.
Onward to part 2, where things are about to get dark in a hurry. 1983, business was booming with 2 whole restaurant franchises running. Fredbear's Family Diner and the newly opened
Wait.
Freddy Fazbear's
Oh, okay.
Pizza.
I
Together,
was gonna be like, am I missing something? Was there too? Okay, newly
William and
built
Henry
one.
had
Yeah.
been able to take the
Got it.
hybrid suit idea and make it into a reality. They called their new invention the Springlock
It's the
suit.
same
And
thing
fittingly
as
enough,
like
it was symbolic.
Mr. Beast won a Sidemen challenge.
Right? It's like, dude, like, if Logan Paul won money, I'll be like, that dude scammed his fans for money and now you're giving him more? While, like, the good creators are in the corner, like, if I won, I would have given it to charity. It's like, I'm glad this is a timeline we live in, at least.
Of the partnership between these 2 men. A human suit as designed by William that could become a freestanding Henry-style robot. But because it was still new tech with kinks to work out, the rollout was limited. Restricted only to the Fredbear's Family Diner location.
Welp.
All of this meant that William was busier than ever. He didn't have time to be a full-time parent, so he designed a nanny cam system where
That's
cameras and
crazy.
speakers were hidden throughout the neighborhood, as well as in his youngest son's favorite toy, Psychic Friend Fredbear. I mean, plushy Fredbear. But since
Right.
cameras just weren't enough to raise a kid, he also left childcare duties to his eldest son, Michael.
Okay, we do know that the crying child is scared of the animatronics. My question is, does the father in question know that, like, right now? Because the spy camera is a Fredbear plush. Or maybe the fear developed because of the plush? I don't know, but like, it like...
There was just one problem with that. Michael was far from the best babysitter.
Psychic
He
friend
tormented
Fredbear.
his younger
Psychic
brother
friend
by
Fredbear.
jump scaring him with a fox
Love psychic friend Fredbear. I feel like that's like a name that is specifically made for me to mispronounce, but we stand.
and constantly left him behind. William watched all of it from his cameras. Kids would be kids. Tomorrow was another day, after all. Except Michael's torment didn't stop. Bitter, angry thoughts would run through Michael's mind. Why did he have to be the one to take care of this whining crybaby all the time?
Yeah.
It just wasn't fair. It was time that he got even with his brother by playing the ultimate prank. A prank that just so happened to be on this crying child's birthday. He and his friends would take his scared little brother and make him do the one thing that he was terrified of doing, getting close to the animatronics. That would be embarrassing for the kid that was such an embarrassment to him. His brother squirmed,
Imagine
screamed,
dying
kicked,
on your
and fought, but
birthday.
just as they were putting that small, squirming boy up to Fredbear's lips, the mouth snapped shut. The sensitive spring locks inside the body had been triggered by the boy's movements, and they'd immediately clamped down. The wriggling stopped. The boy went limp, but it was just a prank.
Well-
It was meant to be funny. The boy was taken
Okay. I'm taking it seriously, right? But the line "it was just a prank" was such a like a whiplash to me, because people nowadays, I fucking hate those like prank channels that like do just like be public nuisance and go like, oh my god, it's just a prank, it's just a prank, bro, it's just a prank. That like when I hear that, it's just like immediate whiplash to modern internet. People were assholes back then too, but you know, it was just a prank.
To the hospital and was immediately given an IV. Flowers and pills filled the nightstand next to his hospital bed, but the damage was too severe.
Yeah.
He couldn't recover. As
Got
the younger
crushed.
brother's consciousness began to fade, he could hear Michael's last words, a small and flimsy apology. But his father, Williams, through the voice of the Fredbear plush, were a firm and committed promise to a dying son. You're broken. I will put you back.
Yeah, dude. It's like a 7-year-old. You're broken!
Yeah, it's amazing how long the human body can live without the frontal lobe.
Yeah, it's also amazing that that one chicken that lived without a head, that survived without a head. But what messed up thing to say to your kid? Like a really small child that's dying, not even like a final goodbye. You're fucking broken! I will put you, not even egotistical. The most egotistical of people would have like last word to their dying son, you're broken.
Together. This would not be the end. No matter what, William's son would live again. It would just take time. Time that, right now, he just didn't have. His young son's heart flatlined as the boy faded into the inky unknown of the afterlife. In the aftermath of the tragedy, changes started happening around the restaurants. Kids were now required to wear security wristbands to prevent anyone from getting outside without parental permission. Any kid who approached the exit without permission would have to answer to the security.
Okay.
I'm awake.
I get that, but also, didn't his kid died in the building? Like, I get the security measures have to be made when a tragedy happens, but it's just not the right one, right? Because the kid didn't die from going outside. Like, I think that's not like a problem that need immediate attention right now. I think the immediate attention is to, you know, make sure the animatronics don't kill people, but again, serial
A
killer.
marionette on strings
Future
that could fly
serial
around
killer.
on rails across the restaurant to stop kids in their tracks. It was William's idea, inspired by Michael constantly leaving the restaurant without his brother. In the wake of Fredbear's spring lock failure, all the hybrid suits were getting retired, locked away at the nearby Freddy Fazbear
Yeah, this is
location. It
the
was
fix,
yet another tough pill to
I
swallow
guess.
after all the hard work that he and Henry had put into them.
Oh
William
my
would've-
god, your kid
That's what I
died.
was thinking.
Your kid died, and I was like, oh, but like my funny robots that I made, dude. If okay, I get it. You put a lot of work into it, but if I have a child, I never will. But if I have one, and like my dog bit my child to death, I would have been like, well, can't have the dog anymore. That's gone. I wouldn't have been like, can I keep it though? That's like, I love my dog. Dude, your kid died.
would eventually bury the boy's small body in a remote location out in the woods
What?
right alongside his drive into and out of work every day. The death of
Is this allowed? Someone, you can just, are you allowed to just bury your family
He
member
and Usami.
in your like driveway? Hello, like okay, I know this was a different time, also a different part of the world where I don't live in. Are you allowed to just bury your kids in the backyard?
of this little boy sent the family
Because like
spiraling.
I am very confident, like, because he went to the
Stop
hospital and
pausing.
died.
Don't listen to my complaints.
No, I have to ramble. I don't like, cause I get it. Like sometimes it could be too much pausing, and you could be like, just watch a goddamn video. But like, if I want to speak, I don't want to interrupt the voices, even though they're subtitles. It still would have been too much. I
Yes.
get like overstimulated. Also the audience would have. The audio is quite. I don't know how. Like, I didn't check before the stream, but I know that my voice is louder to a certain extent.
His wife, crippled with grief, was so distraught
Why is
that
she
all
bald?
she could do was sit and watch TV. But his son Michael was far worse.
Sorry, Weird question.
Complaining of seeing
why
hallucinations
she
of a
bald?
golden bear standing outside of his window. The boy was so racked with guilt that he was convinced that he was being haunted by the ghost of his brother stuck inside the suit that took his life. The suit's three-toed feet digging into the wet earth. The words, "It's me," ringing through Michael's ears. Some nights, Michael would even go so far as to break out of his room to check the gravesite and ensure that his brother was still there. As
Oh
for
my
William himself,
God.
he disappeared into his work and his drinks. Junior's, the local bar, wasn't far from his son's gravesite. He found him.
Is he like canonically alcoholic? Because I'm not an expert. Where does the serial killer in question being an alcoholic come into play?
Himself going there
Grr.
more and more frequently, spending longer and longer
Grr, the
amounts of time
dogs.
there. The
What is
bar
going
gave him
on?
a place to think, to remember, to reflect and stew on how Henry had
The
stolen
dogs.
his idea for an animal-themed restaurant.
Oh,
How they
you were talking about the footprints. I was like, I was sitting there like, what dogs? Ooh, like the dogs hypothetical earlier. Oh, like the footprints. Right. Because feet are dogs.
cut his character out of the cartoon when everyone else was there. How Henry had
Oh my-
humiliated him by buying him out of bankruptcy.
This
And
part is
now-
realistic. Fucking egotistical men that think they're visionaries will get his kid killed, drink alcohol, and think it's somebody else's fault. This is realistic. It's surreal.
There
I
was a son.
hate it.
Henry had taken his son from him. The robotic part was the part that failed after all. William ordered one more drink, but it was one too many. The bar turned him out and told him to go home. But William didn't go home. Drunk and angry, William raced back
Well,
to the
here we
restaurant
go.
to give Henry a piece of his mind.
I know it's
only
time.
to find someone else waiting. Henry's daughter, Charlie, locked
Charlie.
outside of the building, bullies laughing at her through the window. Fine, some other problem to fix. But then Afton got an idea. A beautifully awful idea. This was his chance to get back at the man that had humiliated him all those years ago. Henry had killed his business,
Womp
and now
womp.
Henry's robotics.
Yeah, womp womp. Oh my god, the animatronics killed your kid. Now it's your business partner's fault.
Suit had killed his son. It was time for William
Killed
to
his son. Oh come on.
do some killing of his own. Let Henry feel what it's like to have something you love
This
get
is
ripped
such
away.
an
While parties
American
continued
person.
inside the
I know
walls of the
I know
pizzeria-
that the entire family is British, I think, but like this is such an like Americanized like dad mindset. Like at least Florida man. That's what I meant. Like it's such a Florida man mindset to like, oh, my kid got killed by an accident by an animatronic that I and my business partner made. Now I kill his kid now. I get to
William
that.
attacked Charlie in the back alley. It felt good. He felt free. The years of resentment and bitterness trapped in his heart finally released in a moment of pure unapologetic evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts. And in that moment, William became a killer. He dropped Charlie's lifeless body and drove home, forced to confront his family problems later that night, appalled, but also a little excited by what he had just done. Charlie's death would remain on the books as a random act of violence. And though Henry
But,
had
like, how
suspicions
does
about William, there was no
she
physical
become
evidence, nothing that could
Chica?
link him back to the crime. In
Right?
the weeks that followed, Fredbear's family diner would close for good. 2 high-profile deaths around the restaurant with 2 grieving owners in such a short period of time was just too much bad press to handle. Besides, Freddy Fazbear's was still open, and it was the newer restaurant anyway. All the equipment from the diner, including the old yellow suits and security puppet, would get retired to that location, and there they would sit for 2 uneventful years. The rest of 1983 and 1984 were spent quietly grieving. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the new cast of characters were
I
a hit.
like
Tragic
forgot
mem-
this was a timeline, and when he started bringing out the years, I was like, what part are we at now?
Now she becomes puppet.
Oh, right, cause the one yeah.
Memories of their yellow predecessors quickly faded. Afton kept a low profile and buried himself in work and research, quickly reaching Henry's level of engineering and even surpassing him. And while Henry slowed down to breathe, Afton kept
bitter, like really petty action to be like, oh, right, I killed your kid. Now you would like sit down and grieve, right? So I can like surpass you. So now that like I become better than you, you can like sit down and like know how it feels to be the underdog and also have a dead kid.
going, even starting his own company, Afton Robotics, for all those pet projects that were a little bit too experimental for the regular operations of the pizzeria. The first of these experimental projects was a secret workshop under his house, a veritable bunker, which allowed him to work while still monitoring
Ew.
his kids via
Okay, I didn't mean to say ew. It was flashing lights warning. My eyes got a little
hidden security cameras. 1, 9,
Yeah, that was what I meant to say. I wanted to say ow, and then you came out.
8, 3. A passcode that served as a constant reminder of why the cameras were so important, why he was down there in the first place. This was all to fulfill the promise that he had made to his son, right? I will put you back together. This was for him. All for him, right? But cameras weren't enough. He needed to solve the runaway Michael problem. He had to keep him in the house. He couldn't have another one of his kids wind up dead inside of an animatronic suit. So why not run a little experiment on Michael? You see, all this work with Henry had gotten Afton to start learning more about life, robots, the human mind, and what a fallible machine we as humans are.
Okay, that's a leap. I know that it's probably somewhat canonical that he learns about the nature of human life, whatever, but like the fact that it's thrown in there alongside robotics, like I get it, like he was surpassing Henry, but when does learning about human consciousness comes into the conversation? Because at this point he wasn't even trying to put kids in animatronics, he just killed one just out of malice. And suddenly he knows how to like manipulate people's mind.
Reality is so easy to manipulate with a few sensory deceptions.
Father of the year.
Deceptions like
Truly
sound.
is.
With just a few sounds, he had discovered that he could alter a person's vision. He could transform blank, smooth plastic robots into lumbering, twisted nightmares. Nightmares far scarier than he could create with actual materials. They would appear organic, rotting, putrid, terrifying. These would be his means of keeping his son Michael in the house where he belonged. Was it extreme? Maybe. But then again, this was the boy who had killed his son. He would make him sorry.
Oh, actually have like a concrete one, because like, oh, your son died, who killed him? Henry, also my own son. Like, I get like the leap that he made, but also like, which one is it? Are you I guess like Michael doesn't have a
Would
kid.
grow up not only dealing with
Can't
the memories
kill
of his own
Michael's
guilt,
kid.
the hospital room, the pills, the flowers, the death of
teeth.
his brother, but also
The teeth.
facing literal nightmares, illusions created by sound. Michael would never forget these either. Years later, as a security guard, he would still draw pictures of them.
I will say though, strange enough, I think like the eerie human-like teeth are more scary than the sharp ones. Like I like, I'm not saying the sharp ones are good, like not scary to me, but like I feel like having eerie like human-shaped teeth feels like more to me.
Inside of his logbook. But all of these extra projects meant that his home life suffered even more. He was an absent father and a non-existent husband, leaving his wife
Why is she
cold
bald?
and alone.
Why do you hide inside your walls?
Oh, Ballora.
When there is music in my
I did briefly hear about MadPat theorizing that the wife is Ballora. I don't know about that one, but like
halls. All I see is an empty room. No more joy, an empty tomb.
that connection's a bit of a stretch.
And despite
but
her repeated
side note, Ballora, beautiful singer, very eerie. I do like that a lot.
demands that he leave his office and engage with the family, he refused time and time again, leaving her no choice but to leave.
Yeah, divorce a fucker.
At a house, it was like a morgue in there. You need to see your son.
The baby isn't mine.
Well, how's this? I'm keeping the diamond ring.
And through it all, there was one lingering feeling. William wasn't done.
She
He had
drove
gotten
off a
a taste
cliff,
of what
I'm
it felt
pretty
like to
sure.
What? I thought they just got divorced. I mean, a grave, like, you know, I get it. She's mourning the loss of right now one child and one child traumatized. When?
be unleashed. What it felt like to be free. Charlie's murder had unlocked something in him, and he wanted more. June 26th, 1985. Putting on the golden Bonnie suit, he lured children one by one to the back room of the pizzeria when no one was looking. At first, he was cautious. He would lure them with promises of cake and cookies. He told them that their dog had died.
Nah, she started the mega PIZZAPLEX. What you talking about?
No, because I thought so too. Because as I said, I have seen a little bit of this, and MadPat did say she was the one to start the PizzaPlex because like legally that would be the like the path that the franchise takes, because all of them fucking died already. Legally, it probably would be, but again, we don't know. But it's kind of like
Where you get that?
it kind of shows like where you get that. Well, I mean, it would make sense for both though, for me to like not have any material. It shows how much like of a spectrum it can have. Cause like driving off a cliff and like starting a makeup Pizzaplex is like two end of the spectrum.
He would ask for help with homework. Susie was the first.
But I do wish she got divorced. I do wish her alive.
Never truly forget your first.
Here's a line.
But where to hide the bodies?
By the way, big fan of how the old animatronic speaks. Good horror
He
element.
couldn't sneak out. Someone would see him. He had to hide them in a place where they'd never be found and where they'd never leave the building. They had to be stuffed inside of the suits. No one maintained those things anyway except for him. And so Susie would go into Chica. Fritz, Jeremy, and Gabriel would come next. But it was easy. It was too easy. And with each little life he snuffed out, his lies got bigger. Their house was burning. They're just being kidnapped. Until the last one.
Wait. Okay. Am I misunderstanding something here? Because luring kids with they're just like you're getting kidnapped. Is that what I'm hearing? Like you're huh? So you're saying, yeah, you're getting kidnapped and that's how you lure kids? Or is that like just a threat? Like or you know what? It's fine.
One where all pretense was off. He let himself get violent. Too violent.
I'll
Cassidy.
just wait for him after school. Throw a bag over his head.
Who's
hit him
speaking?
with a shovel and drag him into the back of my car.
The body of Cassidy was far more bloody and
baby?
broken than any of the others. He'd let himself go too far. That one he should have killed.
Oh
With
yeah.
No more
Oh yeah, cuz like killing all the others is fine, but this fucking one he shouldn't have.
Oh,
Like all of the other multiple kid murder. Yeah, this one was the exception. One he shouldn't have.
active animatronics left, he shoved
I
the
know
body
that's canon. I know that the one he shouldn't have killed. By the way, eerie shot. But like the fact that the serial killer has that mindset is
into
crazy.
the one suit that remained backstage. The long-forgotten
Golden
yellow
Freddy.
Fredbear, now broken and discolored with age. Broken, like Cassidy was broken, like his son was broken. Newspapers reported on this disappearance, naming the whole thing the missing children's incident. Police would even charge William with the crimes after finding security footage of the golden mascot suit luring kids to the back, but they couldn't convict him. They had no bodies, and his face
Oh
had
my
been hidden
God.
behind the mascot suit the entire time. What they had
If it's the last place they were seen, I think it's pretty explicit. Like
the
no.
reason he shouldn't have was because he brutally murdered them so brutally, to such an innocent child.
Yeah, but like I feel like the reason he said that wasn't because he got violent, is because Cassidy got revenged. Cause like we could all argue how painful deaths are, right? But like I think like he doesn't have a guilty conscience. It's more like because Cassidy holds such a stronger vengeance compared to the other children, and that's why he has a mindset of like, yeah, that one I should have passed on. I shouldn't have killed because that one holds the fucking grudge, and I'm suffering.
was circumstantial at best. So
It was. You see the children walk into that room, lured by the bunny mascot, and then they never came out. What were police doing? Hello?
he walked away a free man. But Henry knew the truth.
No
In
shit.
these murders, he saw his daughter Charlie all over again. So he threw Afton out of the company and shuttered the doors to the old pizzeria. Henry would keep the franchise quiet for 2 years. This would not happen again. This could not happen again. How could he protect the kids? Finally,
Oh. I hear another word that gave me whiplash. Y'all remember the save the kids thing? Like crypto scam? Again, not related.
he
Is he a
developed a
murderous
solution.
furry?
He would implement
Well, he does enjoy being the mascot costume, and that okay. The more I think about it, I think it is because like the theory about like why get glitch trap is that way is because he sees himself as the yellow like costume that he made, which is generally just a fursuit, and he sees himself as that person wearing the fursuit. Okay, we're just gonna move on.
an even more extreme security system in the form of new animatronics. Toy animatronics.
Yippee!
Inspired by the toys that they had been selling
God.
years ago. But
This is okay. Theory, right? The more the franchise, oh my god, the more the franchise goes on, the animatronics becomes more like typically attractive because he is like becoming a furry, But like I know this is not like him involved. It's Henry, but also if you trace the logic, because like, like I've seen him, the one. Oh, that is weird, because there. I'm just basing all my FNAF lore knowledge just off of MadPat, but like he does theorize about the fact there were two people in Golden Freddy. I'm not sure, like I don't remember much of it anymore, but like if it's possible there could have been two people there, and he regards both of them, both Cassidy and this him, as like both brutal murders that he shouldn't have done. They hold a grudge, both of them. Not sure. Again, stupid.
Guys, these were special. They were a new breed of robot with facial recognition abilities.
But most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database, so they can detect a predator a mile away.
All the original animatronics, now withered with age, were moved to the new location. With a plan in place, it was time to try once more. The year was 1987, and the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was making headlines in local newspapers. Headlines that just so happened to catch the attention of William Afton. Freddy's was back? And without him? That was his idea. His character. Henry was, yet again, trying to cut him out of the picture. No. As long as these restaurants stayed open,
He's so fucking bitter. It's so realistic that like I'm getting pissed off. Like, dude, just lay down. If you've already gotten away with murder, just shut the fuck up. And like, I don't know, take care of your son and daughter, how about?
William would always come back. Then he
Dual
noticed
process theories take on Cassidy. I think Cassidy is a crying child. But okay, well, again, stupid. I don't know, but that is like interesting that how much
the phone number to apply at the
room
bottom
there
of the
is
article.
to just
$100 a week to apply call. Afton would go back, not as an owner or co-founder. He would go back in the one place that they would least suspect him.
So we're going through
lowly
which of the
day
games
shift
are
security guard. And there it was, buried in the back of parts and services, mixed in with the old withered animatronics, was the golden rabbit. With the yellow security badge still on his chest, he used his crank to pull open the spring locks. It was time for Bonnie to give an encore performance.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available.
1987.
Okay.
5 more kids.
5 more
We didn't know what
kids? Oh my god, this man is invincible. What the fuck?
better, getting back into the suit after 2 long years of waiting, or knowing how devastating this would be to Henry the next morning. He didn't even try to hide his crime this time, just meant more blood on Henry's hands. He'd failed to protect the kids again. The restaurant had only been open for a few weeks, but William was sure that this would get it to close. Good, if he couldn't have Freddy's, no one would. Whenever a new pizzeria
Jealous
opened,
ex.
he would be there. But as he sat in his bunker, something else started to linger in William's mind. He had seen something strange. The old withered animatronics, they had been wandering around the building, spurred on by the puppet. It was almost like those old robots were trying to save the kids. Save them?
Oh, they dropped the line. Save the kids. It's a crypto scam. It's all tied in together.
They couldn't, obviously, but still, how were they moving? It was almost like they had been given life somehow. Did he have something to do with that? The following day, the news would report a security guard getting bitten by one of the animatronics during the day shift. Was that bite meant for him? William's curiosity was
no
stronger
shit.
now than his
Who
bloodlust.
else?
He had to learn more, but how? There was no way he'd ever be able to get inside another Freddy's Pizzeria. Heck, there was practically no way a Freddy's would ever open again. He needed to create something new, something brand new. He needed to create his own pizzeria.
Due to the massive success
Oh,
and even more so the
yippee.
unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment.
Circus Baby's Pizzaworld.
They actually made a valid point in Short Game Theory episode where they go over the dual process theory. I have, but it's been, I think, more than a year since I have. But I do remember, like, pretty much writing in my head that was, like, pretty reasonable, like, theory. And, like, that was canon to me. MadPad comebacks for that episode. Yay! Oh, yeah, the reason... No, it was a recent one, right? The one that, like... Oh yeah. People were complaining about it on Twitter, right? Cause like Tom took over and then like he made an episode featuring MatPat, and like people were like, "Oh my god, like he like doesn't go away, just like put him on a bench or something." Like it's like does he know what the retirement means? It's fine. Let him come back when he wants to have fun. Yeah. No. The message is delayed. I understand. There was another one that was done like a long time ago about Golden Freddy that I remember seeing, but that one I haven't seen yet. The new one.
This would be the place where he could continue his work. No longer just
Also,
murdering.
second, troubleshooting. Why is my TTS not? Oh, okay. TTS is not working temporarily. Let's see. Let me check the
WDYM?
Okay.
It came out 2 months ago.
Okay, TTS is back. We're keeping
experimenting. He needed more kids, and he needed them alive. And knowing that he couldn't show his face on the restaurant floor, he needed a way of remotely capturing his victims and preserving them for his work. With that goal in mind, he designed a new breed of animatronic. Their endoskeletons fluid and flexible. He equipped them with sound lures that could mimic voices. They could isolate children. They could incapacitate and contain them with zero direct input from him. It was brilliant. He was brilliant. Far beyond the simple bars and wires of Henry's designs. And the characters he chose for this were uniquely his. His new roster wasn't going to be tainted by Henry's disgusting...
I get it. It was uniquely his. There's a fox there. There's a foxy there. I get it. The rest was fine and original. There was a foxy there though. You couldn't really stray away too far. I get it. As an artist, every time I make a new art, I always try like instinctively go back to something I've made before. That's normal. And that's just a foxy there though.
Am I allowed to say random things?
Somewhat. Keep things mainly related. There is a chat rule. I will say though, there is a chat rule in my description, but like nowadays it's so buried because I put a lot of things there, including like credits for videos I react to and stuff that I do.
Barnyard bird. Instead, it was back to his characters, his creations.
Like random things as as something that like, okay, you want to bring up, right? But like it could be spam. Like random thing could also include spam. It really depends.
Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, as well as two special ones. The first, Ballora, was an homage to the woman who left him. Now she would never leave him again. The second, the titular baby, was designed with his baby in mind. Elizabeth, his youngest child. She would always be Daddy's little girl, the one that listened to him.
I'm adopted. Fair. That is a random thing that's fine. That is very much fine. That's wild.
That's wild.
The like one-off like random thing is fine. Like you don't have to always say reasonable normal things. You can make jokes. That is all right. But if you're unsure about anything, just check the description, check the rules, and you should be all right.
The one that obeyed until the day that she didn't.
Daddy, why won't you let me
Oh, I remember this.
She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me?
Well,
the day before Circus Baby's Pizzaworld opened, she disobeyed. She didn't listen. Left alone
First
with Baby,
day?
she got too close.
Holy
the
hell.
animatronic ripped in half and swallowed her whole. A scared and confused child fading into eternal darkness. By the time Afton found her, it was too late. She was gone. He immediately canceled the launch of Circus Babies under the guise of a gas leak. But wait, as he sat
Would
there
you
at the
know
foot
a
of the
recipe
stage,
for a sausage McGriddle?
would you? Oh, I'm not gonna lie. Very transparent honesty here. What the fuck is a sausage McGriddle? Not even being funny. What is that?
noticed that something was different.
XD.
The eye color of the robot had changed. Baby had been built with blue eyes, but now they were emerald green, the same color
Like
as Elizabeth's.
daughter.
Was she in there? Could this all be connected to the free-moving animatronics that he had seen at Freddy's? He had to know more. His mourning turned to excitement. He had to return to where it all started.
Oh my
1993.
Like, I think I get, like, okay, your daughter got snapped into the animatronic words. I can't say words. And, like, you know,
Dude,
she's
it's
alive.
so good.
She still have, like, sentience. and you're like, okay, well, I finished morning. Now time to go back to work. But it's just still kind of. How do you not know? Okay, I'll tell you exactly how I know. How I know. I was born and raised and still am in Thailand. A lot of Western culture I am exposed to, but not directly. Like a lot of internet culture, like over the pond, I know. But like when it comes to fast food, right? It's very different.
I'm not allowed to go McDonald's.
McDonald's does exist here. However, it's very different. It exists in a very different form. As far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware, the menu is a lot smaller, and also there are things that are just not the same.
Pathetic. This place was pathetic. Henry had clearly tried to reopen one final time with those old original animatronics from so long ago, but William's damage to the brand had been permanent. These things stank of death. They hadn't been washed in decades. But even if they had, nothing could wash away the stink of murder that haunted.
So did they find the body though? I'm not keeping tracks of how many exactly there are. Jeez. Fair.
One night, then another, then another. William repeatedly snuck into the old broken restaurant to lure the living animatronics to it, one by one dismantling them, robbing them of their endoskeletons.
This man never gets caught. What the fuck?
Be the secret. It had to contain the remnants of life itself, but he had to know for sure. Leaping out of a room that was invisible to the animatronics.
I'm not allowed fast foods. Well, I mean, depends on who set up that restrictions. Like your parents, right? Like, or like, you know, a health instructor, a doctor. That's fair. I feel like fast food for especially a lot of people is just a cheaper alternative to food that is like, because food these days are more expensive. That's just a thing. Fast food is just an answer. No, they never found the bodies. Womp womp. Why? Police suck. What the
Programming, he dragged the oversized robotic skeletons back to his underground workshop, back to where Circus Baby watched on with glowing, curious eyes. Eyes that somehow felt alive. Not knowing what else to do, William melted the robotic parts down. 5 animatronic endoskeletons reduced down to one silvery puddle of goo.
Is this fast goo? Oh my god.
His own creations. He had to try. He picked up a syringe and filled it with
He mentioned the word fast goo in the beginning. I know that's where he was going. What the fuck?
molten metal and injected the goo into Funtime Freddy's twisted, wiry endoskeleton. And suddenly the coils came to life. Like snakes writhing in a pile, what had once been cold, lifeless metal moved and jolted on its own. He'd done it! He had unlocked the secret to life itself. Except something was
My dad's a health nut. Oh, mine too. Honestly, okay. Side tangent, my dad, I think it's about Asian dads for me. Like, he's Chinese. I think it's fair to like him being raised like that and like really like longing for longevity and like health. He like, I live alone, right? And sometimes he visits and the presents are almost always food, but it's like coconut juice, like cartoned version, and like you know, just fruit juices in general. Sometimes we bring us a whole colony of fruits, vegetables, raw by the way, and like I tell him like, look, I'm not in the mood for cooking. These broccolis are gonna spoil. He's like, just take it. I brought you so you can eat healthy, take it. And it's like, Dad, I don't want to cook right now. But like, you know, he's not that restrictive, especially now that like he can't really.
Violent, angry. Baby didn't act this way. She had been calm, collected. This was clearly something else, something mindless and frantic. Perhaps by mixing the souls and then portioning them out, he had created incomplete beasts. He would need to keep testing to truly understand it. He needed more of this remnant.
I live in
the
country
the old pizzeria.
FUGG is a kilometer eagle.
If the kilometer thing wasn't obvious enough, the kilometer, dude, the fact that like I like grew up as you know, the more I learned English, the more I got familiar with American culture, for example. I'm so baffled by how they do things over there that genuinely to this day I still have no like real comprehension of how they live life the way that they do. It's such a big cultural difference that like, I mean, y'all don't have bidets at public bathrooms. I couldn't do that, you know. And that's like a scary part of me. That's like I kind of don't want to leave this place, even if like, you know, it's not a developed country. I would rather prefer having bidets at public bathrooms.
One more time for any remaining scraps of metal, the ghosts attacked. His past victims come to collect
Here it
their
is,
due,
it happens.
all led
It's happening.
by Cassidy. The 5 lined up and blocked the door, and Afton's mind reeled. The scientific implications of this were incredible. Ghosts, real ghosts that he could see, all standing against him. But what could they do? What couldn't they do? He panicked as Cassidy approached. How do you stop something that's already dead? Maybe with the thing that resulted in their death in the first place. He would get into his suit like old times. He would regain his power over them just like the day
Actually, that's kind of smart. Like, being a serial killer killed people and like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, you got killed by this fucking bunny. Yeah, I'm gonna get in bunny suit. Now you're scared.
they died. He was the genius. He was the one in the suit. He was the one in charge.
Yep.
The spring lock snapped into place. Maybe it was his frantic movements. Maybe it was the leaky abandoned restaurant. Maybe it was just fate coming to collect its due. He didn't know. The only thing he did know was that his...
Okay, side tangent a bit. But like seeing this scene play out in the movie, I was in theaters, by the way. I was in theaters. Was like a moment to behold. I don't know. It feels weird seeing like a pixelated scene that I'm familiar with being played by real people experiencing, you know, pain.
His brain was suddenly filled with searing white-hot pain as hundreds of metallic pins and gears stabbed into his body from all sides.
No, he
all
wouldn't
he
die,
could
so I
do was
don't...
collapse, blood slowly oozing out of the suit and pooling onto the floor around him. It couldn't end like this. It wouldn't end like this. His work was unfinished. Unable to move, his only option was to survive, to live, to keep living.
Views in
It took
American
days
have
lying in his
trucks
own
and
blood, but
etchall.
eventually someone...
In American, you have pickup trucks and, I mean, American culture as a whole is a lot to like be hold up. Like, I mean, we have pickup trucks here in alcohol, but the culture is like different when it's like the same thing. Cause like pickup trucks wasn't like a pretty like patriotic thing over here. It's just you probably like if you have like a truck or like, you know, a car that transport like stuff, it's like, oh, you're probably a farmer, or you know, you transport like stuff
not
regularly. Not used. I get it. I know what you meant. Also, why do you guys have guns? Why?
Found him, a security guard making a normal report. When he saw the animatronics torn apart in the middle of the party room floor, it caused him to file an immediate report of a break-in. An owner would have to come in and claim the damage, and who else would it be other than Henry? Hope jumped in Afton's heart. Henry
Why?
would see him. They were partners after all. He would be the
You
one to help
killed his
save him,
kid!
to get him out of this suit, to relieve him from this tremendous pain. Henry entered the secret room. His eyes fell on Afton sitting there in the pool of red, and Henry, saying nothing, turned and walked away.
Yeah. No shit.
That due to budget restrictions, the previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations, including this one. Nothing is being taken out beforehand, so if you left anything inside, then it's your own fault. Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives.
And so there Afton would sit, hanging on for 30
BC
years,
weekend water,
trapped behind the wall.
pistol, gun water, pistol,
Huh?
gun eagle eagle eagle.
Wait. Why does CTS read the same like emoji but like differently? It was pistol gun water and then another one. TTS, hello, Chatty Fly. What are you reading? Why is the
Because
same
black
emoji
people
being read
know.
differently?
I'm not racist. I honestly don't know.
The thing is like okay. I like I get the joke. It's because American people are racist and want to shoot black people. But the thing is like as a person who lives in a country with gun control,
Undefined.
What? Okay.
Undefined.
What like actually are you reading? Cause those are what I'm seeing. Okay, my TTS gonna be TTS. As like someone who lives in a country with like, gun control, knowing how much like American like just have guns as like a thing is like weird to me, because like it kills more people than the lives is saved by quote unquote like self-defense. because that's the reason people say that like we need guns for self-defense in case someone broke in. But why don't we, like, I don't know, stop at the taser or the occasional pepper spray? Because I don't know, school like shootings is just a wild concept to me. Okay, wild side tangent, really heavy one. But like over here, it's really, really rare to see a tragedy of that magnitude ever happen. Because again, a weapon that strong is really hard for a kid to get a hold of. And that's not the case in America. I have the safety of like never being scared of that.
I'm sorry.
I was never scared of like getting shot at school. We never had to do a drill where we hide from guns. The scariest thing was a knife. Like that happens sometimes. A school shooting here, the equivalent is just a knife. But that caused way less damage, right? And I kind of am like a little upset that like American kids doesn't have that same feeling of security. But like, you know, that's like a really weird cultural shift that also like like boosts my like feeling to not want to move there. It's bad there already, but like
walls with an iron will that refuse to die. End of this part. I say this part because it's not officially
I forgot
the end
this
of the
was about
Afton era
FNAF,
just
right?
yet, but this just felt like a really solid stopping point. The episode has gone on forever. Okay, so most of this is things that we already knew, stuff that's been established and re-established time and time again by the games. That said, there are two things that I absolutely have to address. The first and biggest is the placement of sister location, or more specifically, Elizabeth's death. To me, evidence in game seems to suggest that it was meant to come before the crying child's death in 1983.
Why?
The biggest clue to this is that the crying child saw something. Remember what you saw is the phrase that's repeated over and over again by
Have you seen that one PSA ad?
Nope. I don't think so. I also PSAs are just something I don't go out of my way to see.
psychic friend Fredbear, aka William Afton, speaking through a walkie-talkie in the Fredbear plushie's stomach. But what did he see? Well, I think we can tell based on how the nightmare animatronics are visualized. They have mouths in their stomachs, just like Baby ripping in half at the waist to swallow a kid. There's also the empty girl's room, one presumably left behind by a dead sister. And lastly, it explains why he's scared, and more specifically why Afton wants him scared. He needs his kids to stay away from the animatronics. He doesn't want them getting too close because the last time one of his kids got too close to a robot, his daughter died. That's then why he sets up the nightmares, to scare both Mike and the crying child away from the animatronics from that point forward. That's why books like the Character Encyclopedia outright suggest that my brain is the crying child in FNAF 4. That's why he has a nanny cam following the crying child everywhere, so he can keep tabs on his kids when they're out of his sight. He can't let another Elizabeth situation happen. The death of Elizabeth also gives William Afton extra motivation for killing. He's a grieving father. His daughter was taken away from him, so Charlie should die as well. He's lashing out at the world after losing his kids. And again, we know that at least one of his children had to have died prior to Charlie's death, based on the mound of dirt that we see in Midnight Motorist. It also allows Circus babies to open and close earlier in the timeline, which is how you wind up with Funtime Foxy appearing as Mangle in the FNAF 2 location. Basically, Elizabeth dying first has everything it needs to fit, except for the most important thing, the murder weapon. Why would Afton be building an animatronic with a giant...
Because for me, at least, like, I can maybe see an angle where it's supposed to be just an ice cream dispenser, but also you can do that in the way that it wouldn't, you know, be also a child murdering machine.
Claw on its stomach so early in the timeline.
So it's a bunch of kids saying like, I love
so
this.
It's like a bunch of kids saying like, I love these new notebooks. But then it turns into, these shoes are really good for running. And then you hear gunshots and it gets worse.
Why is that a PSA though? That feels like a gag. I feel like that's like you know that like one parody song where like presumably a teacher is like singing to the students like, don't cheat on exams, and as the song goes on it starts teaching you about how to make crystal meth. It feels like one of those. Why is that like a PSA? What is it supposed to do?
At this point, he just has no motive. It just doesn't make sense prior to 1983. At this point in the story, he hasn't killed anyone, and we know for a fact that the missing children's incident is 1985. So Elizabeth's death coming before any of those events just doesn't work. Hence why I placed it where I did in the narrative timeline. Afton's death
I
here
agree with
is
that, because I feel like my gut is telling me like it's carrying a lot of what I
told me
think.
to not be gay.
Can you kick your teacher in the balls? Okay, what the fuck? Wait. Okay, I was thinking about FNAF, cause like Elizabeth's death feels later, like narrative wise. I don't know, because not only did it come like the game came out later. That's like, I know that is a bias because I know the timeline doesn't line up. But Elizabeth dying before the crying child feels weird to me, like in a lot of ways.
Also a bit tricky. We know that he returned to the FNAF 1 location to break down the original animatronics in order to harvest their remnant. We know that he melts down 5 things to become one
Then
thing.
it shows a girl crying in the bathroom, and she says, "This phone is great for saying my goodbyes." And then you hear the door opening and footsteps.
Okay, the same question applies with the continuation. What is it supposed to teach? Cause what are you supposed to do? Normally, like PSAs
Random
aren't like
comments in chat.
Because like, what are you supposed to do, right? Like public announcement, like PSAs are supposed to like teach you something. At least that's how I thought it is. Like you know, keep like.
OMG, I saw that one.
Why do people know what they're talking about? Cause like I've seen PSAs, just not that one. But like it's like, what do you call it? Oh yeah, don't believe misinformation and stuff like that. Cause like for me, at least from my perspective, there's not really helping school shootings, like except for gun control. But you couldn't do that as a person as a person. You have to let the law take the wheel, I guess. But like, what is that supposed to teach you? My teacher showed it. What? No shit, they teach in schools? That's weird.
Very clear. So the 5 things are the
My teacher showed it.
Cause like as I've said, it plays out like such a parody. Like it like has a what is it, a template of a joke. Like when it keeps escalating while the structure of the sentence stays the same. Like it's structured weirdly.
This is so random, but I always thought Chica from FNAF 1 was a duck who's with me loudly, crying, face, sob.
Whoa.
5 endoskeletons from the various animatronics. That would be totally fine if it weren't for one.
Okay. The duck thing, now that I think about it, I always thought Chica was a chick.
Me
but
loudly, crying, face, sob.
But like, okay, that I have seen a creator, I don't know who I was watching that was playing
It's
FNAF,
the ad.
also called Chica a duck. And like, I see it. I do. And like, I get it. Not me personally, but I get it. Chica kind of looks like a duck.
On his 5th visit to the pizzeria, Afton gets spring locked. So either the 5 becoming 1 starts in 1993, but then finishes 30 years later when he reemerges from the wall to add the last endoskeleton to his pile, or he's had himself some reason to return to the original location after harvesting all the stuff that he can. It's not ideal, but it's the one angle that makes the most sense. And with that, this next chapter comes to a close, thereby leaving us with 5 more games to cover
Jesus.
and another 40 plus years of Fazbear history to recap. When you put it that way, something tells me that this might balloon into 4 parts. Ugh, we'll see. Anyway, until
It did
then,
balloon,
my
didn't
Fazheads
it?
conclude.
It just mentioned in the beginning of the stream. That is so like foreshadowing. I was like, I thought there were 3 parts. Is there 4?
Congratulations, you made it through a massive upload. And hey, if you are still looking for more to watch, hello internet, welcome to Game
This is, I
Theory,
think,
and
the
page 20 of our final FNAF
Now
timeline.
Springlocks collecting endos like Funko Pop's skull.
that's weird, right? Because like, again, I've mentioned how no matter how outlandish people theorize FNAF to be, the canon is always more insane. Because this man is legit just invincible to the everything justice system mainly.
XD.
Also death. Also, speaking of Funko Pops, side tangent. You guys see the Nintendo Direct where they announced a new like Funko Pop game and it looks so ass. It looks straight up like abhorrently bad, and it's like, oh my god, why does that look fun? It looks so bad. Why does Funko Pops have games? And Funko Pops in itself I don't even like. But like it's the kind of thing where it looks kind of fun bad. The game, like I might purchase a game to play on stream just because of that.
This is getting ridiculous. Last time we covered William Afton's rise as a serial killer, how the loss of his young son in 1983 caused him to make one fateful promise that would ultimately serve as his driving force for decades. I will put you back together.
And he never
fueled
did.
by grief and obsession.
Dude, I think he's fueled by the fact that he likes killing kids.
The Kirby Funko Pop looks just weird loudly.
Wait.
Face,
Okay, pause.
sob.
What do you mean the Kirby Funko Pop? That exists?
The ad is back to school's essentials, a Sandy Hook promise.
Bro, you're talking about the PSA. What the fuck? Okay. I'm searching this up. We are Funko Pop. Wait. Oh, what is that? What is that? That is not Kirby, dude. That is not Kirby. That is okay. Again, that's not Kirby.
Search it up on Google.
Oh my god. What the fuck is Funko Pop as a brand doing? That is... I don't know. It doesn't even look like Kirby. It's... I love Kirby and that destroyed my entire existence.
Session, Afton would lose himself in work and drinks. One night in a fit of rage...
Oh, show it. Okay. I just closed the
Show
search
us it.
tab. But fine. You guys can have... Oh, you know what? You can have it for the rest of the stream. Let me get like a good angle of it. How about this one? Wait. Do you have to... Let me check. Do you have to like... Okay, you do have to save the image. That does kind of ruin my vibe a little bit. Hold up. Ugh, I don't want this on my PC, dude. I'll put it here, I guess.
Watch the video.
No, I'm not. No. No. We're not doing that until we get the Kirby Funko Pop on screen. Look, I like the idea of the stream getting progressively more confusing because there's just a bunch of random stuff on there that people don't really know where it came from if they like just popped into the stream, and that is like a fun idea to confuse new viewers. Here it is, the Kirby Funko Pop. Enjoy.
He lashes out against Henry's young daughter Charlie, his first murder. This moment becomes the first domino to fall in a long sequence of events that...
I mean the ad, also no. I will not diverge from it. Also I mean containing violence is something. I'm not really tinkering with a lot of, real life stuff. Mostly because I don't want to. It's a bit risky. Also, this video is about FNAF. Do you remember that? Do you remember when it was about FNAF?
It destroys William's life and the lives of those around him. That one murder gives Afton a taste for blood, resulting in the deaths of 10 more children across
Also, why is he holding the knife like
gives
that?
Afton...
Oh, it's his other hand. I thought... Okay. I thought, like, this hand was holding the knife by the blade in this awkward position, and I was confused.
A taste for blood, resulting in the deaths of 10 more children across 2 different pizzerias. Those children go on to possess animatronics, giving Afton his first exposure
yes,
to
Kirby.
remnant
That
and
is not
potential...
Kirby.
Yes, Kirby.
Why? What were... Okay. Like, if you were to show me the Kirby Funko Pop on the street, I'd be like, that's not Kirby.
Thank you.
Solution for bringing his son back to life. The need to learn more about this miraculous power leads
Oh
him
no,
to
it's
produce
blocking.
the Funtime animatronics,
It's blocking
as well as the-
Chattyfly. Hold up. I forgot that Chattyfly was there. No. You got up on my head. I can't have it like just completely block chat.
Their capture devices. Robots designed to bring kids to him for experimentation
Now
and
Afton in
collection of more
039 in the
remnants.
video
Except there
looks
was
like
one
an
thing that
Angry
he didn't
Bird
account
skull.
Angry Bird? Wait, where? I can't. Why do I kind of agree? It does look like an Angry Bird.
For his daughter's curiosity. He made the robots too appealing, and it would cost him Elizabeth's life. Now with 2 children to put back together, Afton was more desperate and crazed than ever, returning to
I don't think
defunct
that's a motive
pizzerias to
anymore.
steal the possessed metal still living inside their walls. What he didn't account for, though, were the ghosts, forcing him to pay for the sins of his past. When last we left him, William was spring-locked, bleeding to death behind a secret wall. Gone, but certainly not forgotten, as we're about to see in today's video. Today, we're finishing up Chapter 2 of our story, wrapping up the Afton era. Over the next 6 pages, we switch our focus to the other main character of the franchise, Mike, a young boy dealing with the fallout of a stupid childhood decision with tragic consequences. A young man whose life is best described.
We get to take a break from hearing the story from the perspective of a serial killer. I'm glad we get to diverge a little bit.
As collateral damage, caught in the blast radius of William's whirlwind of destruction. Now, before we begin, let me just rip off the band-aid now. We won't be finishing the timeline today. I know. I'm sorry, I wanted to, but covering FNAF VR, AR, and Security Breach wound up taking me an additional 9 pages of script.
The fact that AR is in the
equation is weird. This part, so I just had to make the executive call to break this one up into 2. Don't worry, that part is already written, it is already recorded, it is just in the process of being edited. It is a hefty episode, so mark it on your
good job, Team Theorist.
Calendar. That one's actually going to be going live on March 25th. It's also coming complete with a live talk back where we go back over everything from the past couple episodes, as well as having ourselves some very special guests. So overall, that one should be a lot of fun. Fair warning though, the conclusions we've reached that solve Security Breach, they are controversial. I feel good about them. Like, I think that we've locked in on a lot of the answers here, but they're gonna raise a lot of discussion. Let's just say that you're either gonna love that episode or hate it. I don't really think there's gonna be much in between on that one. Anyway, without any further ado, let's cover a chunk of the timeline that's a lot less controversial. Let's meet Mike.
Why does his nose look like that?
I'm afraid that it's not a question that I can answer. But now that you say it, maybe...
A live talkback. Teacher's Goblin, Japanese.
Goblin Japanese? Is that what you said? Was that the emoji? I'm learning a lot.
William still wasn't back. Weird. Michael knew his father sometimes traveled for work, disappearing for days on end, but usually there was some sort of notice, a phone call, a post-it, something. It's not like Michael and his father were close, far from it, but as a household of 2 suffering men coping with years of tragedy and loss, there was at least some element of communication between the 2 of them. They were united by a name and a shared pain. This time though, things felt different. William had left nothing. His absence was longer. There were no check-ins, no updates, just silence. Something had happened. If there was one thing Michael knew about his father, it was that he had contingencies, safety checks, backup plans. His father was a careful and guarded man. He held his cards close to his chest, and as such, William had prepared him in the event that something like this ever happened. Normally, his father kept his home office locked, but in the event of an unexpected, prolonged absence, Michael...
Cause of like, I guess that's like the official Sprite, like, right? But like, right? Is it? I don't know. But like, the fact that his like face is like slim and like his nose is protruding out of like, maybe it's not a nose. Who knows? You know, it's just a couple pixels.
Enter his father's office and look behind an empty set of shelves mounted in the corner of the room. Rolling his eyes, Michael entered the office. Never fully understood how William was able to spend so many hours of his days locked up in here. There was just nothing to do. Most of this place was empty. He dragged himself over to the shelf in the corner, expecting to find an emergency contact list, a family safety deposit box. But what he actually found there was completely unexpected.
Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be.
The shelf swung open and revealed a giant industrial elevator.
Dude, there was... Okay, horror aside, without any context, if, like, this is what I found, like, in the family home, just an elevator, like, as a child, I would be very excited. Even as a teen, dude, like, a hidden passage in your house... I'm not going there alone, for the record, but like, I would be so excited.
That led straight down into an underground bunker. But that was impossible. Hidden inside his childhood home was a secret entrance to an enormous underground science lair? It didn't make any sense. Seriously, it didn't make any sense. And yet, here it was, mapped directly underneath the floor plan of the house that he'd grown up in, lost his brother in, been tortured in. Michael thought that he'd known his father, a prideful, sad, angry man with petty everyday problems, but clearly he'd been living with a stranger this entire time. His father had secrets. Suddenly, the days of William being locked inside of his office made sense. He'd been here the entire time. Where was here, though? Was this Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals? The Circus Baby restaurant always did seem to be a deeply personal project for Father. A failure of his that cut unusually deep, especially after that first location had to be closed prematurely due to the gas leaks. After that day, Father really did seem to change, to lose himself even more in his work. Clearly, the entrance he had found was some sort of secret back way into the facility, one that required crawling through vents to navigate. His father had been working here.
Oh yeah, this is a sister location.
That's when he found her.
The
At the end
game.
of the facility,
The game.
his father's pride and joy. Except something was different about her. She wasn't like the others. The way she talked, the stories
Bro,
she
not going
told.
to lie,
This
your
wasn't
character
just
is
a
cute.
robot. She was
Not gonna lie, I don't know who you're talking to, but if you're talking to me, thank you, because I made it myself. That's the only like,
Why
oh
is
my,
Circus Baby called Circus Baby Hen? She ain't a baby skull.
is his baby. Because like I call the tangent, related tangent. I call my model my baby all the time because I made her myself. The only time where I would ever accept compliments like gladly on my appearance is when it's this
I
model.
love how Kirby on the side just staring.
Yeah, I think I look back at Kirby, yeah. It's a great sight. You have to admit. Yes, you. Thank you. I will say that like I don't really like compliments like that are, you know, targeted towards like how a person looks, but like it's my model, I made it myself from the ground up. That's very like flattering for me. Thank you, thank you.
alive somehow. And not only was she alive, she also
Wait. Now that I'm talking about my model, I forgot to turn off. Wait, what's the toggle again? Okay, this is a toggle. Caddy was blocking the screen this entire time and I didn't see it.
familiar.
Sorry, the spirit cat is gonna stay hidden for now. It's blocking a little bit of the video.
There is something bad inside of me. I'm broken. I can't be fixed. Will you help me?
Was this his sister? William's baby girl? But how? Why? What was this place? He dug around some old files and found blueprints outlining the features of these animatronics. Storage containers, voice mimicking, parental tracking. And was that a child in Freddy's stomach? Was it
The blueprint just includes a child. I don't see it, but like I also have bad eyesight, but like the fact that it just has a child space in there, wild. Also, a little side note, now that we're talking about my model a bit, I did make
Does
her...
Kirby have hands or ears? Bekwa say it looks the same.
Kirby doesn't have ears. Kirby has arms. It's always arms. Cause like I don't I don't think you use your arm if you use like that. If it's really his ear and he use it like a limb, it's an arm. It can't be fixed. Oh,
I can't be fixed. Oh, you can't be fixed. Grabs a belt. Say that again, bro. Ogre, Japanese.
you I would say keep it in your pants, but actually just stay away, please. I would prefer that. What the fuck? Oh yeah. I was talking about like because of like the way my art style is sometimes. You know, I made it everything, and then I know right away that isn't really gonna fit my voice. I have intrinsically quite a deep voice, I will admit, and like the model doesn't really look like it has a deep voice, but I feel like satisfied and comfortable with it because I've like aren't really XD. Good timing.
his father collecting and experimenting on kids? Were all the rumors that he'd heard throughout his past actually true? That the animatronics
The fact that there were rumors and he wasn't arrested, wild.
There were murders done in all the pizzerias, that his father had somehow been the prime suspect in all of it. Suddenly, Michael's mind flashed back to his persistent nightmares throughout his childhood. Had he been experimented on too? Tears stung in his eyes as anger, fear, and confusion filled his body. His father's secrets were pouring out. William wasn't just a lame, overworked father. He was a monster, toying with life itself. Suddenly, everything clicked. He
Sorry, the fact that like the pixelated model just have very like, you know, smooth like arms that are just curved thick lines is funny to me.
frantically looked around the room.
Suddenly it wasn't
blinking human
pixelated. I
heads
got
on
scared.
poles staring back at him. Green eyes, his sister. Blue eyes, his brother. Closed eyes, his mom. All just staring expectantly. These
How,
were
okay, how does the closed eye stares at you? Like how? Okay.
to be human. William was working down here trying to make believable humans, literally rebuilding the family that they
foreshadowing.
had both lost. The small little girl robots with their British accents roaming the hallways of this underground facility suddenly took on a whole new context.
That's a small British baby? Dude, this was a weird thing.
It's the same person.
Okay, you're very creepy. Good job. But the fact that, like, they're British baby robots is funny.
Do not get to the gotcha FNAF. The is one rabbit hole you don't want to go down.
Because you said that, I'm not gonna ask for elaboration.
Were those meant to be his sister? A replacement for her? A clone? Was William building clones of his sister? They seemed to know him, after all, to react to his presence.
That doesn't look like a human girl.
Recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
He always did have a bit of a resemblance to his father. Michael's mind reeled as the reality of his world crumbled to dust.
THEORY time. Willem has purple skin.
Yep.
So does Barney. So is Willem Barney the dinosaur skull.
Oh my god, it's all connected. Also, I don't know why TTS sometimes read all caps words as, you know, they read out letter one by one. But good job, Shaddyfly. Did good job.
No, he had to get them out of there. If this really was his sister, heck, if any of these things were human, souls, whatever remnant of the humans that they once were, they needed to be rescued.
They always put us back inside. There's nowhere for us to hide here.
Led by the voice of Circus Baby, he marched through the now empty halls of the Funtime Auditorium. He
so
would lead them. He would
gets
protect them.
scooped.
And finally, he would be able to forgive himself for
Here
the
we go.
killing of his brother so many years.
Ooh.
You are in the scooping room now.
Can we talk about baby's voice? Because I always found it super soothing. Like, I know that's like the intention behind it, but like, I don't know, it's so nice.
The scooper only hurts for a moment.
Scooper? That
Feels
violent
nice.
extraction arm?
Like,
Michael had seen
we're
that one
witnessing a tragedy, and I'm just like, but her voice so nice though.
in the pile of blueprints, something about heat rendering the magical silver metal inside useless. In reality, prior to getting himself spring-locked and put behind the wall, William's methods had become increasingly sophisticated. With a
Bro, I
mechanized
miss the old days when FNAF first came out when I was like 6 years old. I still love the game, but it's not scary no more.
I do have a childhood memory about it. I somewhat resonated with that. Because I used to have a family friend, and like the kid went to the same school as mine, but I wasn't close to him or anything. Our mothers were just very close. I went to his house, he was like...
You hate me, let's go kill Barney with a baseball bat and a 2x4 no more purple dinosaur.
Okay, first off, bars. Second off, no. Back to what I was like talking about. Like, he was watching like a FNAF playthrough of the very first game, and I was scared shitless. He asked me like, "Do you want to watch it together?" And I went over to my mom and asked if we can go home because I don't wanna. Cause I found them super scary. And now that like time had passed, and now that I'm seeing FNAF again, none of them feel scary to me. I do get
arm
it.
that could infuse new bodies with a soul. William could finally give and take away life. The only thing he needed were the bodies. But William wasn't the only one looking for bodies, as Michael was about to learn.
But if we looked like you, then we could hide.
Oh, until,
If we
you know, he
looked
turns
like you,
purple.
Then we would have somewhere to go.
Michael was going to be the hero to help these animatronics, all right. He was going to help the haunted tubes and wires of these animatronics escape, just not the way that he anticipated. His sister had lied to him. Another game of pretend. The scooper plowed forward, digging its extraction arm into his body. As he heard his
Ice
bones
cream
ripping through his
scooper.
flesh, Michael blacked out.
But something is wrong with me.
Yeah?
I should
Tell
be
me about
dead,
it.
But I'm not.
For the next several months, Michael's life
I don't like
was
the
not
music
his
cutout.
own. He was
It's fine.
forced to comply with the tangle of wires and spirits that lived inside of him. His body felt like an overfilled balloon, begging to burst as day by day, week by week, his flesh began to sag and discolor. He was a walking, talking, rotting corpse, alive, but wishing he wasn't. He was a puppet, a walking shell. And while he did his best to conceal his fate, there was only so much a man filled with robot spaghetti could do. The entity in his innards
Willem's
would
eyebrows
have
are fatter than Queso Bro when pixelated skull.
Dude. Wait. Oh, I don't know. I've like to be honest, I've never seen like Queso
My
around
favorite
that much.
FNAF character is Funtime Foxy, then William Afton, Springtrap.
I don't know. I've never thought about like my favorite animatronic. It will probably be probably Baby. I really like Baby a lot. Also, a bit of a side tangent about like I've seen on Twitter, you know, Queso, the content creator. I like know that his like chat plays around with like his weight a lot, but apparently like I know he's okay with it. That's why like I don't want to speak on it too much. But apparently he's not even that fat. He's like just got a really big build because he like works out and like has a bit of a bare body type.
eventually leave, but by that point the damage had been done. His decaying flesh stank, turning him into a literal purple
Orpal. The subtitle said Orpal.
guy. But still, even with no bones, even with rotting purple flesh and begging to die, Michael continued to live. That silvery metal remnant injected by the scooper meant that he couldn't die. His anger also refused to die.
My
What
fab
he
is
had seen
Vanny,
down there in his
Scrap,
sister's
aka
location had
Circus
rocked him
baby.
to his core. His
Ooh,
father
fair.
had killed and captured dozens. His experiments had killed his sister.
Although it does show a bit of who you are when you said, oh yeah, it's a Vanny, the sexy bunny, and also the other one that looks vaguely like a woman. I'm joking, but Michael Ennard and Happy Frog. Happy Frog is based. My favorite animal ever is a frog.
Michael, Ennard, and Happy Frog.
Dude,
just joking on Happy Frog.
that's not fair. I love frogs. Happy Frog is good. Happy Frog is good. It's okay.
And then tortured
Also,
him
how is Michael the choice here?
throughout all his childhood. He was actively trying to build human replicants. He didn't know where his father was, but Michael knew that he was out there somewhere.
I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you.
Michael had to correct for the sins of his father. He had to make things right. Michael would
Ooh, the
burn
familiar
Fazbear
drama.
Entertainment to
Spicy.
the ground. I mean, what else could you do when your skin was permanently purple? Michael's
I don't
strategy was
know.
simple. He would apply
Go
for
on
night
vacation?
security guard positions at the old defunct pizzeria locations. That way no one ever had to see him or smell him during his shift.
Wait,
and all
why
these
when Michael
old
Core
shuttered
was rotting,
locations.
he was purple,
Stinky.
but William was purple since he was a baby like WTF.
What? Okay. Was rotting, he was purple, but William was I mean, I don't think he was purple from the beginning. It's just the sprite that represents him, which I still don't understand. Like, I guess, but I will admit that sometimes I would confuse the two because they're both purple. Like, in a way, they're both purple guy, right? And like, they have the same last name and pretty generic first names. So that might happen, like, on occasion where like, okay, which one is William? Which one? I
William
do
just
like,
wore the purple suit.
yeah.
Did need guards. Teenage vandals and squatters were always looking to get
Hello,
inside these
hello,
abandoned
welcome to the
buildings, and yet
stream.
no one ever really
What
wanted
else
to
can
work
you
an
do when
overnight
your skin's
graveyard shift
permanently
unless they were
purple? Then there's me convincing everyone I am Barney the dinosaur skull.
But like human shape though. No,
Sorry for the bad spelling.
because like the costume is one thing, right? But like Bunny the dinosaur kind of have to look like a dinosaur.
practically out of options. Enter Mike. One by one, he would take on the job of security guard, changing his name each time to ensure that no one was able to follow his paper trail. Once
He's
inside,
purple.
he could tamper
You
with
could just, like-
animatronics and figure out how they worked.
You could just walk right
You
in.
have made
Okay.
4 minutes in since I last tuned
Fighting
in.
about his
Dude, Shut up. Let me take my time. I'm milking
his
it.
security logbook. While there, he would listen to the old tapes where upper management awkwardly welcomed new recruits to their summer jobs, even though he was working there nowhere near the summer months. He heard the gory details of his father's franchise from the outsiders looking in, confused and afraid about what was happening in the walls around them. Sometimes he would see his brother in the form of the Golden Freddy suit. It's me appearing on the walls around him. Except now, there was something else there. He was no longer alone. Another
I see it. I get it.
Angrier
I
presence
remember
was also in the
it
suit,
kind of.
as if two spirits were forced to share the same body. And Golden Freddy would attack him now. It was aggressive. Its vengeance wanted to lash out at anyone with
Get out! You!
anyone who wore
Your
a
rest
security
things
guard
get out of my
outfit.
face.
Over time, Mike worked his way through the old restaurants, the original Pizzeria, the bigger, better Freddy Fazbear's. He spent weeks there looking for clues as to his father's whereabouts, and each time at the end of his week shift, he would then set the location on fire. Remnant can't survive high temperatures after all, so burning away whatever spirit-laden animatronics
He survived every fire. Dude. I get it. I get the lore explanation. However, the funny yellow bunny has survived multiple fires.
like a winning strategy. All this revisiting of his past, though, would
Very random, but glam rock Chica's head looks like a freaking dumpling skull.
I would take that as a compliment, honestly.
Causing the nightmares to begin again. Hallucinations
That's a
that
good
brought
thing.
him back to his childhood. The guilt around killing his brother. His dreams were oddly mixed with the shrill phone calls of the security guards. But it would all be worth it in the end. The goal was to eventually stumble across the one location, the one job that would finally reunite him with his father. Little did Mike know that that day would come sooner than he expected. 2023, an advertisement came across Mike's TV. Fazbear Fright, a new horror attraction inspired by the awful crimes that occurred around Freddy Fazbear's Pizza so many years ago. It made Mike sick. People looking to make a quick buck off the tragedy of others, off his own family. This wasn't a joke or entertainment. Regardless, he had to be a part of it. This team was combing through his family's history.
Got mad and was like, oh yeah, let me get in there. Why he sleep like that? Oh my god, the question is, why does he sleep at all? Isn't he like just okay? He doesn't have any need to sleep anymore.
Why he sleep like that?
He like died already, and the thing keeping him alive wasn't human anatomy. He doesn't need to sleep.
That could be useful. And if his father was truly still alive as he suspected, there would be no way that he wouldn't show up here. Maybe finally this could be the final chapter in his family's marathon of tragedy. Mike applied for the job and was
Tell me why my cousin asked me for my toy Chica plush and he gave it back with a hole at the bottom and white stuff everywhere. I threw it out. Probably going to get a new one.
Sure, buddy.
handed the keys. Years of doing this had taught him that security guards rarely receive thorough security checks.
He doesn't... It doesn't... What do you mean he looks human? Like, I get it, it's pixelated, but it's... Okay. When he said, security check was loose. The fucker doesn't look human. What do you mean? This is not conveyed very well.
I also liked how creepy Mike looked.
Like,
he thought it was a cop.
Oh, okay. But if... it looks human. Alright. Speaking of Chica, why does Chica wear underwear, bro?
Looks human XD.
I mean,
Costume.
It's not underwear, is it? It's just part of, like, the... I mean, some animatronics wear, like, clothes that are external.
Welcome home, know this. Welcome home, 1969. Disappeared, 1974. Reappeared, 2022. Fredbear's Diner, 1973. 1983. Evan Afton's death.
Yep.
It's like there's something to both of the fandoms.
Dude.
It's because you seem to know FNAF.
I do know, but like, like indie horror as a whole, I do know somewhat of a little bit of everything. But like, oh yeah, Welcome Home would be fun to cover, but it's like too beyond my pay grade, kind of. At least the website itself. There's a lot of fucking updates. There's a lot of puzzles that I'm too dumb for. But like, it's funny when indie horror does like a crossover. You remember that time when they put Choo Choo Charles in Garden of Banban? Anyway, let's just move on.
On theme for the job. What little they knew.
Hey, glad you came back for another night.
Honestly, I kind of wish that was true.
Moonlight.
If like they do a crossover with Welcome Home, I'm gonna like freak out. I like.
I promise, It'll be a lot more interesting this time.
For weeks, there was nothing. But just as Mike considered giving up, he received the call that he'd been waiting for years.
You're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one.
Could this finally be him? Sure enough, there he was. William inside his iconic golden Bonnie Springlock suit, only now it was green and decaying with age. And there they were, a small family of broken men finally reunited. It's been a long time, Dad. Mike had always struggled with the phantoms of his past haunting him, but now all the animatronics he'd encountered over the past months hopping from pizzeria to pizzeria suddenly sprang to life.
Still
Their burned
updating it,
faces
though.
haunting him as he tried to keep track of his father on the cameras. It would
Good
seem
luck with
that
that.
William's mere presence had put the spirits on high alert. Ultimately, they were harmless, more annoying than anything else, but there was one that felt different from the others. One that was more than just a mere phantom. The security puppet. If he looked at the cameras
there
at
we
just the
go.
right moment, he could see it floating there through the
Do
halls.
Bendy
He could
and
even
the
see its
ink machine
reflection in the water
PLS.
pool down the ground. It would seem he wasn't the
I
only
might.
one there on a mission.
Putting
While
that
he
one
was
in the
dealing with
closet for
Springtrap,
now.
Michael assumed that this one was likely dealing with the spirits of this place, finally setting them to rest. Hopefully this means a happier day for all of us. Mike thought.
Wait. Okay, I just thought about Bendy the Ink Machine, right? And like, wasn't there like there was a lot of like tease content for Bendy that was gonna come out in recent times, because I might do stuff like, you know, game theory stuff reacting to it if like, you know, there are more content to unpack, because again, want to do a big like just roll through.
And in that moment, he felt the air around him release, like pressure being let out of a bottle. The building sighed, as if 5 spirits had finally been allowed to move on. He had the sense that his brother was a part of them. He rigged the wiring inside the building to misfire, and the dry, desiccated walls erupted in flames.
Again.
It is finished.
Oh, you'd think so.
Except, it was not. Somehow, through sheer force of will, Afton remained. He had survived.
Through the sheer force of them wanting to make more FNAF game to sell stuff, he is still alive. Why does it have to be him?
And Mike would need to find a new way of finishing off his
Please find a new antagonist, I'm bored.
Joey drew nothing.
Joey drew nothing. Fair. I do know a little bit about Benny. Not enough though. I miss MatPat. He's still here.
Miss MatPat.
He I mean, if you want to see him theorize, it's still on GT Live, like, and like he plays games, and like you can see he still has theory brain, which is like kind of endearing. You see him like play games, and like he just keeps on theorizing about lore in real time, see how his brain works when like he's not.
One of
like,
them being that home controls Wally, right?
Yeah.
Glitch Trap controls William. Not to mention that both Wally Darling and William Afton having a W as the first letter to their names.
Well, I mean, it's yeah, that is objectively true. The thing about like Welcome Home is it's very cult heavy in a way, cause like the theory about like home controlling, you know, Wally, in the William Glitch Trap is that one is more of like, you know, occult indoctrination, and one is like related to immortality in the digital form and whatnot. It's very like similar events happening like with very different motives in different ways. Frankly.
Frankly.
Great name. I do like Welcome Home a lot, and ARGs are fun, but again, it's a hard thing to get into when you're stupid. Cause like I do wanna like do the problem solving myself. I sat down one time and tried to do it, and I was like, oh, this is hard, man.
Luckily, the solution would present itself later
I think
that
my
year.
cat liked your voice because she's purring while sleeping.
Aw, that's adorable. Love cats.
Not from Mike, but from another victim that had
Willem
been left in his
Afton stole
father's
my
wake.
McNuggies.
We're talking
Can I borrow
about
your
becoming a
RPG
Fazbear
louder?
Entertainment
Crying
franchisee,
face.
restaurant
Soft.
ownership and management.
Favorite is Wally Darling. Fair. He is the main character. My favorite is probably Julie. I like Julie. She's
Something
awesome.
almost anyone can do with a limited degree of success. You are now the face of the newly
man.
rebranded Freddy
This is where
Fazbear's Pizza.
Fazbear Entertainment as a brand had been closed for
Pizzeria
years.
Simulator.
William had been
Yeah.
stuck in a suit and a wall. The only
Wally
person who
equals
legally
cinnamon
could bring
roll.
the franchise back was Henry, but he'd largely pulled out of the franchise around the time of his father's disappearance. Something was up. Surely this had to be some kind of a trick, right? Mike, doing what he did best, applied for a franchise and immediately got the job. There was just
Dude.
one thing out of the ordinary. Paragraph 4. 4.
If you are playing this tape, that means that not only have you been checking outside at the end of every shift, as you were instructed to do, but also that you have found something that meets the criteria of your special obligations under paragraph 4.
Why the cinnamon roll thing about his hair? Colon single quote closing parenthesis.
Required.
I have a kitten called Lala. She's very cute.
I have a kitten called Lala.
Yay!
She's very cute, and she just looked at my laptop with nothing in her mind. Ogre, Japanese.
That's nice. I love like just animals in general that like have two mode, which is think happy thoughts or no thoughts at all. That's like my favorite thing. You are the father.
To keep special lookout for independently moving animatronics outside the restaurant. Now he knew something was up here. Henry was luring them all back. Rather than trying to go to them, like Mike had done for years, Henry was doing the opposite. He was putting them all under the same roof. He was finishing them off for good. Mike knew this wasn't meant to be a restaurant. It was meant to be a prison, a containment vessel, a locked box meant to trap them all in so they could finally end the madness.
I wish it did end though. It would have been so good. That's like my biggest like gripe with it. It feels so good if it ended at Pizzeria. I'm gonna keep continuing. You know what I mean.
The robot spaghetti that had once violated his body, and his sister, now hopelessly devoted to serve the man that had once gotten her killed. It was time. He had been instructed to seal the doors and leave, but while he locked everything down, he didn't move on. If this was truly meant to be the end, if the remnant needed to be washed away, he needed to be a part of that.
This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you, although there was a way out planned for you. I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace and perhaps more waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
And with that,
it was so good. Why didn't it end there? It was so good. The final monologue, it like feels nice to have it end like this, and then it didn't fucking end. Why? This should have been it. Like, continue the franchise with the new set of characters. Please let it end. Let him die, please. It feels frustrating because I like how it wrapped up, and if that was it, it would have been like, it would have felt like relieving. Even if like FNAF did move in the in the direction where it did, the digital age, and more like, you know, like modern vibes, they could have ended this particular story arc here.
P-O-T-T-A-H Ogre, Japanese.
It was over. The Afton legacy died with all of them trapped inside of a literal box. As the flames danced around the office,
ironically,
Mike, for the
it was
first
just
time in
a Freddy
decades,
Fredbear
was happy.
plushie.
But William wasn't gone yet. Although the dark...
William wasn't gone yet.
It feels nice.
Yeah, the story-wise, it makes so much sense. It should have ended there because all the years of build-up, so much stuff happening, so much stuff happened, like ended in one place in one final fire where the whole entire family said, "Mom," and what do you mean? There's something in my closet? What did I miss? What is chat going? Chat was moving a little fast, I will admit. What is happening? I think there's something in my closet. Is it alive? Pause. No.
His pit of hell was open.
Just because it said that, I'm gonna resume.
Or someone wouldn't allow him to move on. Instead, he found
Cassidy.
himself locked in moments
At
from his
Migratory
past.
Eagle?
The pizzeria, his son's room, his underground bunker. It was as if his brain's neurons were all firing at once, overloaded, mixing and matching all his biggest fears, regrets, failures.
IDK.
What was this place? How did he get here? He called out into the silence. Then they started coming. Without warning,
Freddy
animatronics, both new and old, began to...
What is it supposed to do though? Because like, I mean, if the plushie have eyes and you position it, it probably will stare at you.
jump out at him, bite him, rip him limb from limb. The pain was immeasurable. Make it stop. Make it stop. William, for the first time, longed for death, an end to this torture. Just as it felt like he couldn't take it anymore, everything was quiet again. It was as if the world had been reset. There was a brief moment of quiet, and then the onslaught began again. Dozens of faces from his past all focused on him. A waking nightmare that he couldn't escape from. More pain, more ripping. It was his own personal hell, but why? Why couldn't he just die? And then he saw them, a group of characters he never thought he'd see again. Those janky, stolen
See what I mean? It feels kind of like, I do like that specifically Mr. Hippo is looming throughout the entire franchise, just being an omnipresent member of the cast, just not in an obvious way.
That had started
but last time in was in a box.
Mediocre Melodies. It had all started to go wrong once they showed up. Once Henry had made them. But mixed in with their obnoxious southern drawls, William heard...
Don't start creepypastas in chat, please.
Something else. It was barely a whisper, but he could just make out the words.
He tried to release you.
Oh, there we go.
He tried to release us. But
oh,
I'm
yeah,
not
I can
gonna
hear
let
it.
that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here. No matter how many times they burn us.
That voice. He knew that voice, but from where?
At Migratory Eagle, if you have a Wally plushie,
The one
did you check
he
if it's
shouldn't
in
have
your
killed.
closet?
William thought back. He'd done a...
Was a joke that Wally is in the closet? Because I kind of see it. I get it. Like, he does have some, twang to him that, makes me feel a little familiar. You know. My kid will not stop saying, you want to get married? Yes. The question is, do I get tax benefits?
I don't have Wally, sadly.
As an aromantic person, I will marry a cat if I get tax benefits. Also, if it's not a human, obviously.
A lot of awful things, but there was always the one that stood out. Not Charlie, his drunken act of revenge. Not Susie, his first true murder. No. Instead,
I don't
the
got
face
a Wally
the one that he had
plush,
lost control with. The one that he had broken beyond repair for no good reason other than because he could. The one that he'd stuffed inside the golden bear that his partner used to wear. Cassidy. They were back, and now they were trying to punish him, to make him suffer like he'd made them suffer. It was almost like William and Cassidy's
That's a big mistake to me. I think he's you have the fact that you kept him alive is the bad thing here, because being alive and all, he's probably gonna continue to kill kids. I just let him die so no more kids would die, but hey.
Locked together, fused by a collective rage and spite, each refusing to move on. But while Cassidy was so focused on taking revenge, he actually did the one thing that would be the downfall for so many others. They kept William alive.
Yeah,
even though
exactly,
fire
because
should have
I
destroyed
wouldn't
the
have
remnant that was
kept
coursing
William
through his
alive.
being, Cassidy kept William breathing, paving
No,
the way
sadly
for
not.
his escape. William's will was so strong, his soul so powerful that he managed to put a part of himself inside the circuitry that housed the spring-locked suit. And there, his consciousness lay
already.
inside a single circuit board, waiting for someone to find him and set him free. A person that no one would suspect. Okay,
It's
so a
the
bit of a
mom,
shorter chunk, but an
isn't it?
important one as we shift perspectives to Mike and tell his side of the story. And with FNAF VR, AR, and Security Breach having so much to explain, I didn't want to rush through things by trying to cram it all in here. Don't worry, I know you've all been
I do
patient.
draw
The final
Wally and
video
the O
is
of him
happening on March
usually.
25th. That is
I will say, out of the the indie horror genre, Welcome Home does have a very welcome the fandom, because of the design of the characters, people are more inherently easy to be into the fandom, drawing fan art or whatever, because its anatomy is also similar to a human compared to what the fuck this is.
locked. It is getting ready to go. Trust me, I want this thing to be over and done with as much as you. I am not just stretching it out for the views.
I am. No. I understand, MadPad. You're not stretching it out for the views. I am. It's not you, it's me.
Wrap up for the day, I did want to talk about the big Orville elephant in the room, Mike's quest for revenge. You might have noticed that I was vague about the dates, and there's good reason for that. I don't know. There is no good way for me to make them fit in. Here's what I do know. We know with a high amount of certainty that Michael Afton is the character that we play as up until Ultimate Custom Night. Mike Schmidt and Fritz Smith, the security guards for FNAF 1 and FNAF 2 respectively, get fired for, quote, tampering with the animatronics and odor. So weird connection between the two of them, right? But now, look at the phantom animatronics that are haunting us
Sadly,
FNAF
Wally
3.
can't
They
use
use
the
models
website
from
to
both
talk to
FNAF
us
1 and
anymore, thanks to Clown or someone else sad face.
I do. Okay. Matt Pat did a theory about that. No, I don't remember what it was though. But like, wasn't it the who's a bookworm? That guy he theorized about that guy being like the mole in like the neighborhood. I don't remember. I might have to go back to it.
in FNAF 2, meaning whoever is sitting in that security guard chair Fazbear Frights, they have to have seen both locations and their animatronics. And that's not all. Their designs are burnt. It's a weird detail in the game, and it's something that the character encyclopedia repeatedly calls attention to. The burned texture for these phantom animatronics. Why is that so unusual though? Fazbear Frights is the first time in the franchise that we hear about anything burning down. From that point on in the story, it's like the characters turn pyro and are suddenly setting fires left and right. But for the first 3 games, nothing ever catches fire. The animatronics are just moved or repurposed in some way. So when did they burn? And why would our security guards see them as being burned? Someone has to have been going location to location, setting these places on fire, purging the sins of the past. We know we're definitely playing as Mike and Sister Location in FNAF 6 based on the in-game dialogue. And in FNAF 4, there's an Easter egg where we can hear the phone call from Night 1 of FNAF 1.
Why does he look like
whoever's
that?
in that bedroom has heard the recording as
I
a
have seen it
security
before,
guard.
but now
we
that I look
also
at
know
it.
that Mike has seen the nightmare animatronics based on his drawings in the security logbook. So overall, there is solid evidence that connects all of FNAFs 1 through 6. You'll also notice how the character encyclopedia doesn't have a page for Mike Afton. This thing has a page for Chocolate Bunny Bonnie, but not Michael. Some tells me they don't want us to confirm how many games he's been in, because that would confirm too much of the theory. In short, this gives us an incredibly compelling and complete narrative. Mike as our protagonist, and William, his father, as our antagonist. Mike accidentally kills his brother in Fredbear's mouth, which begins our story and sets William down his pathway of destruction. Mike is then haunted by the guilt of his past and is looking to make things right across the rest of the games. In Sister Location, he learns what his father's been up to and realizes what he has to do to correct it. After failing
now
to
that I
finish the
see
job
the blueprint again, I do kind of see a child there. Yeah.
in FNAF 3, he ultimately helps Henry end it all in FNAF 6. It is great. It is a clean narrative. There is just one problem: timing. Mike's quest can't really start until he's been down to Sister Location, seen Baby, and gotten himself scooped. That's when he finds out about Afton's secret life. It's also when he's gonna start to smell, because, you know, he's a walking, talking, rotting corpse. And we know that he's not going down into the bunker until the Funtime animatronics have been made, Freddy's has been closed, and Afton is out of the picture. That all should be happening post-1993, after William is sealed behind a wall. But that then presents us with a few problems. Afton has already dismantled the original animatronics as we see in the FNAF 3 minigames. How are those things getting burned if they're already deconstructed? But more importantly, we see FNAF
My
2
head hurts.
paychecks with the date 1987. That is way earlier than I think it can be. To be fair, Fritz Smith's pink slip on night 7 doesn't have a date, but it's a bit weird to say that the first few nights are in 1987, and then employee number 3 is hired on years after the restaurant closes. Anyway, just wanted to call that out because I don't have a solid answer for it, and I'd love to see your comments down below.
Kudos to the entire internet and theorist team, because I
Usami
like
Leon.
if I'm following like the story, I'm following it. I am like picking up coherent like words and sentences. But when they start to break down like the years, the like stuff that like I don't think the complexity can like be summarized for me. Like I don't know, numbers make my head explode.
And with that, my friends, this chapter comes to a close. We'll see you on March 25th for the grand finale as we cover the final.
Please put a blue turkey among. No.
Mini question or so, if y'all don't mind. Do y'all know the Rainbow Factory lore? If so, then what do y'all think about Walden when he's in a bad mood for not getting his coffee yet? Moona Therian.
Now that I don't know.
Final 3 games of the
Haven't gotten there
franchise,
yet.
and the controversial answers we think solves what those games were trying to tell us. Until then, my Faz heads, remember, even though Afton kinda succeeded in being brought back to life, gotta admit, he's still looking a little bit on the dry, dehydrated side. I suppose 3 fires and being dead for a decade will tend to do that to you.
Yeah.
Fortunately, thanks to today's sponsor, Air Up, I think we can help him out with the hydration.
Pause. There are not a lot of new people here. What we do on the channel is
Rainbow Factory.
We don't skip the sponsors. Good reaction etiquette. The reason I pause so much as well, because I don't want to abuse free use, because, you know, just putting your face in there, just reacting to it, just not saying anything. YouTube won't do anything about it. It's free use. But I don't want to do that. it's reaction.
Okay, what about Poppy playtime?
Reaction etiquette to provide a lot of commentary to make sure your content is transformative enough, and also don't skip sponsors because they made the video we're watching possible, and that's very important to provide gratitude.
Thing, not the whole burning alive thing. You guys know that I hate
Yay.
drinking plain water. It's just boring. And that then led me to my current crippling Diet Coke
was
addiction.
a human
However,
once.
Air Up has found a way to harness the power of science to get me to drink more water. Which
I
not
am
only
making
do
a
I love in
plush
principle,
YouTube
but I can
channel. The
truly
main
say has
character
changed
is
my
Woody.
drinking habits forever. They use these special scent pods that fit directly onto the top of the bottle, and almost as if by magic, it makes the water taste like basically anything you want. How? If you guys have ever
Not
watched
gonna
Food
lie,
Theory, you probably heard me say that smell is more important than
I'll probably have to go pee soon, and I'm really scared to do that every time I stream because people are gonna leave the stream because I'm going on a bathroom break. I'll wait until the video's over. A little bit.
These pods are full of flavorful smells like watermelon, peach, wildberry. That one's my personal favorite. And by having the pods in front of your nose as you're drinking, it makes your brain think that that's what you're tasting. But in fact, you're just drinking good old H2O. No additives, no preservatives, no sugars, no syrups, no aspartame, no nothing. I love my Air Up. But naturally, when I tell other people about it, they're skeptical, right? It's a weird concept. So I got members of Team Theorist to try it for themselves, and they were also blown away by the results. Lee,
I subbed, I won't. Well, I mean, what am I gonna say about it? I'm trying to think of a vaguely threatening sentence so people will subscribe, but also it's just genuinely, no, like, just do what you want. At the end of the day, like, subscribers are what keeps me going. But if you don't feel like it, if you don't feel like this is enough, that's fine too.
Me neither. I am
Three of our
staying.
creative directors, they walk around with their Air Up bottles constantly. Lee loves his so much that he even bought one for his brother's wedding present.
Oh, you're talking about the leaving when I go to the bathroom. Appreciate that, but also I will be turbo speed. The other day, I was streaming and I tell chat, yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
I sub to you.
Turns out my dad was watching. And he called me after I was done streaming, and he asked, why did like your bathroom break took like 5 seconds? Why is it so fast? Like, are you like okay? Because he didn't like, he's not good at like English. He's not fluent, and all he heard was I'm going to the bathroom. Wait, and then like 5 seconds later, I come back, and he was concerned of like why I was so quick.
Said that the orange vanilla swirl flavor reminded him of ice creams that he used to eat as a kid, which sounds way more exciting than just plain old water. And the great thing is, if you aren't like me and you just want some good old-fashioned water every once in a while, you can just drop the flavor pod down away from your nose, and suddenly you're back to drinking out of a regular water bottle. The team and I love Air Up. Seriously, there are just so many of these bottles around the office now, and I wouldn't keep saying yes to their sponsorships if I didn't genuinely believe in the quality of the product. So head on down to the description and click.
Woohoo! Thanks, Air Up, for sponsoring Game Theory. Appreciate you for making this video possible. I'm gonna go real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, come back. I am back.
I'm a wizard.
So, you know what I said about me having turbo speed pee? Here it is, the confirmation.
Link to purchase your bottle right
Her
now. Plus, if you
character's
purchase any starter set and use the code FREEFAVE5, you'll receive one free Favorite 5 variety pack. That's going to get you 5 one-pod packs of orange
Yippee.
vanilla, raspberry lemon, peach, watermelon, and again, my
We're
personal
not going
favorite,
into the
wild
sponsorship
berry. That way you
ends.
get a good sample of a lot of different flavors,
I
and
won't
you
be
can find
rude.
the one that's perfect for your tasting enjoyment. Sadly, there's no burning metal or remnant flavors for Afton
Damn,
to
that
enjoy,
was
but I'm
fast.
sure the others will do the trick.
Right? I very proud.
It strikes me as a raspberry lemon kind of guy. So once again, head on down to the description, get yourself a start.
Okay, let me take a quick peek. This is like the final one. We arrived at the final one.
Blow Internet, welcome to
Yippee-ki-yay.
Game Theory, and the final part of my FNAF timeline, where today we're bringing our story to a close by talking about the most complicated and controversial part of the timeline, the part that I've been dreading most of all, the end. The moment where we're finally forced to come to some definitive and difficult answers trying to explain what the heck we were watching in Security Breach. The last 2 episodes have been about death. The death
Oh my
of
god,
Afton.
wait. Break. My subscriber count is at 169. Hold up. This is a milestone. Happy 169 subs. I'm gonna cry.
His family, the deaths of multiple children, the death of the franchise itself as Mike and Henry figuratively and literally burn it all down. Today's episode, though, and the current end of this franchise is instead all about rebirth, the return of old characters in new forms, and the controversial rebirth of a franchise entering the next era of its story. But before we hop into the timeline, due to scheduling conflicts, I won't be able to have any live talk back after this episode. I know, I promised one, I was really excited about it, but I just couldn't make it work with my schedule and all the other guests' schedules. That said, I still do plan on doing one over the coming weeks with special guests. Just make sure that you're subscribed and either have all notifications turned on, or you're just watching our community tab.
I'm pretty sure I am subscribed to Game Theory. Like, it would be really embarrassing if I just scroll down and not subscribe. Yep, I am. I am maintaining good etiquette by being subscribed to people I react to.
Without any further ado, we finally reach the end and a new beginning to our story. Fazbear Entertainment was dead.
There is no need for you to return to work next week, as Fazbear Entertainment is no longer a corporate entity.
All debts have been paid, all assets redistributed. The company was outright dissolved. Even the memories of the horrors that had happened there started to fade away in the public consciousness. The people were gone too. William was dead. Henry was gone. A whole generation of young Emilys and Aftons had lost their lives to the horrors of the pizzeria. All of them collateral damage to the man in the bunny suit. Everyone the company had ever touched was dead and gone. Well, all except one.
Pay your child support, you deadbeat!
Yes! Mother!
Clara Afton. She'd been there in the early days, back when things with William were good. They'd had the perfect home, a thriving business, the ideal family. But shortly after their youngest son died, things started to change. William had become distant, lost in his work, obsessive. She had watched him change from this irritatingly brilliant man that she had fallen in love with to a drunken monster.
I would usually stare at a static screen to see if
and despite her
Wally is
trying
there.
to reach out to him in those desperate days, he was just too far gone.
I just try to communicate with him in case anyone followed the same with me.
Ow, wait.
Not going to lie, I woke up at 5 a.m. and went on YouTube and I saw this new YouTuber streaming FNAF, so I clicked it and now I am having so much fun.
Thank you for having fun. That's ultimately my goal. Look, I stream to, obviously, you know, because I have streamer brain, I can't do anything alone these days. But I'm glad you're having fun. Genuinely, this stream, compared to like some of my others, definitely is a huge success. There's a lot of people here, and chat is moving a little too fast for me. I'm getting overwhelmed. Okay, speaking of the subscriber thing, now that it's at 169.
SWA, same here.
I don't know if anyone, like, if I'm gonna make another subscriber for a while, because I don't exactly remember, but I do a bit vaguely, that when I hit like 69 subs, like, it would just stop for a while because people don't want to subscribe to like break the sacred number.
Admit it, you want.
Is it okay if after the vid you react to my Mickey Mouse series? Probably not like soon. Like, I mean, like this stream. It is, how long has it been? It's been 2 hours. I do have some things to attend to eventually.
Wanted to let me in.
For her sake, she had to leave the relationship, and from there she largely faded into obscurity. A mystery from William's past, a footnote in his history, and that was fine for her. She wanted to leave that part of her life behind. She tried to move forward, never wanting to hear the name Freddy Fazbear again. A time
stay
defined
gone.
by
I've been looking for people I could talk to enjoy the time.
But then the paperwork
it's now
started to
6:18
arrive.
a.m. from
Fazbear
where I am
Entertainment
in.
began.
Time zone is weird. Like, I never really
Now
figure out like
6:19.
when to stream, but like, I'm glad people are finding me, mostly in weird times. Because every time, like, people, like, come into my stream and they tell me what time it is, it's always, like, not a good time to be, on the internet for some reason. But, like, I guess that's my strategy now. Just do whatever I want. People will come in inconvenient times.
Close as a corporate entity, suddenly her mail was flooded with notifications, requests, obligations. She had been there since the beginning, helping William in the early days of his business. And now, as a shareholder and sole living member of the Afton family, all copyrights and trademarks of both Afton Robotics and Fazbear Entertainment passed on to her. Memories of the
cats should pay taxes to their owners in forms of
Moonlight, where do you live? Cause I have the same time.
Wild. Am I like pandering to an audience somewhere that I have no idea I am?
Past life.
Canada. Oh. All right.
She had long
Buckle
left
up, Canadians.
Looking at the blueprints, the contracts, the memos, she felt old wounds begin to reopen. The regrets of a happy family that had been torn away from her. William had always been brilliant. That's what had attracted her to him in the first place. But he'd also been too blinded by obsession and pride. He was too jealous, too petty, too unable to actually see a bigger picture. But now, holding the paperwork that contained decades of heartbreak and trauma, she realized it was her time.
I am in
She
New
was
Jersey,
holding the
6:20
power. This
a.m.
was her chance, and one thought resonated in her head. I will put them back together. I will put them all back together.
Okay. Second, I'm mingling with the TTS a little bit. Yep. Okay.
She would be the one to rebuild this family. To
You
rebuild
see, I
the
have seen this
pieces
part.
of that
To be fair, the
shattered
fact that
life.
I'm
To
not
reclaim the
reacting, I have seen this part. I do know, like, yeah, she's trying to build the family
kids that
again.
Fazbear had stolen from her. But how? Looking at William's work now laid out before
Guys.
North
By the way,
Carolina, I am Hillbilly XD.
now that we're here, do not share your personal information. Like, the general city or the country you live in is not that bad, but for your own sake of your safety, don't say too much. We're steering out of this conversation.
For her, she knew that he had been onto something, collecting remnant, robotic humanoids, digital conscience transference. The pieces were all in place, they were just scattered, fragmented. It was almost like there were too many ideas going in too many different directions. It was such an important idea that she reiterated that point to herself. There were too many ideas going in too many different directions. That said, there had to be a way to save it all. She just needed to
some
put it all
random
back
timing
together.
earlier ago
But
before
how?
I found
to
this.
rebuild her family.
I swore I heard a footstep. I panicked thinking it was somebody, maybe even Wally.
She would first need to rebuild the franchise that had stolen them away from her. With ownership over the characters, their licenses, the technology patents, and the Fazbear name, she converted the
My
corporation
kitten's
back
back,
to an
ogre.
LLC,
Japanese.
a structure
Yay,
for
the
smaller
cat's
businesses
back.
that are usually family-owned. The irony was fitting. From there, she would need remnant, and lots of it. Remnant was the key.
Okay. Remnants are dead kids, right? That's what I'm hearing. But that, like, spurred in another question is, like, she also, okay.
Clearly, in the
we're gonna
later
watch.
years of his life, William had been using Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals as a remnant farm, sending robots to kids' birthday parties in the hopes of nabbing bits of the stuff here and there. But clearly, it wasn't enough. He had, what, like 4, maybe 5 animatronics going out every week? No. It was a decent idea, but to get the remnant they required, it needed scale. Dozens, hundreds of animatronics, all...
So then, Remnant isn't dead kids? I don't know, cause like if there were scales like hundreds and stuff, I don't think she would be pulling that off. I don't think. Remnant gotta be like emotions or some shit. It's no way there's like actually they meant like actual dead kids again.
out there, all gathering remnant from unsuspecting customers.
Oh no, that sounds like kid murder. So what is Remnant?
Do that would require help, something William would never ask for. William had kept everything in-house. His obsession with control limited him. Clara, though, she wasn't nearly that precious. A plan like this required partners, people outside of Fazbear to do the heavy lifting. So she contacted a mid-sized delivery company, DLZ Shipping Solutions, to help build replicas of all the original animatronics. animatronics. And with meal delivery apps being all the rage, why not an
Oh,
animatronic
AR.
delivery
Yeah.
service? Order one to celebrate your birthday, your
I guess-
Halloween party.
I guess they make AR fit in the lore after all.
July picnic. We'll invite Liberty Chica and 4th of July Freddy on
Wild
over.
part
She
of
would
the
make sure that they
franchise.
made skins for every occasion. Chocolate Bonnies for Easter, Shamrock Freddies for St. Patrick's Day, Dia de
Yep.
los Muertos Chicas. And the
That happened. What was... Okay.
the Fazbear Funtime service
It was a weird
born.
time.
That's right. With the Fazbear Funtime
Markiplier.
service, you'll never be alone again. You'll always have someone watching your back.
Was it ridiculous? Absolutely. Was it a sellout? Pff, no doubt. It was exactly the sort of thing that William would have hated, but it needed to be done to get enough remnant. Normally, the novelty of ordering an animatronic wore off after like what, 1, maybe 2 times? But with new skins for new holidays, suddenly you had yourself an animatronic
To be
perfect for
fair,
every occasion.
in the real world, like, I feel like it would have went this way too. This would make sense
It would keep
as a
people hooked. It would keep them
marketing strategy, because they did sell this, kind of.
ordering the latest and greatest that Fazbear Entertainment LLC had to offer, and all the while they'd be collecting and returning the remnant back to her. In a word, it was brilliant. There was just one problem with it. No one trusted the Fazbear name. The company's brand was still mud in the public eye. No one would want to hire animatronics from the restaurant franchise known for murdering children. Nothing kills a party quite like the threat of death, you know. So, she needed to find a way to discredit the stories that had come before. She needed to win back the public's affections, reactivate some nostalgia for the spooky stories of their childhoods. She needed a game. Multiple games, in fact.
They lied to us. They lied to all of us. They told us that the whole point of this VR game was to undo the bad PR done by a rogue indie game developer. But that's not true at all. Those indie games were designed to conceal and make light of what happened. This isn't just an attempt to rebrand. It's an elaborate cover-up.
Struggling game developers were a dime a dozen online.
Oh,
Most
right.
working on
One
their
in
magnum
particular.
opus between shifts at the Dollar General. So she found one. Steve just picked him out of obscurity.
This picture of him, right? It's funny to think about because in a lot of ways, the available like faces of Steve Steve out there was like, you know, not very flattering, and then he showed up for a mad past retirement in a suit. That's just always very funny to me.
The right mix of desperate and doofus, willing to say and do anything for a couple extra bucks. And he fell right in line, as expected, delivering stupid little things with dumb generic names like Mangle's Quest, Balloon Boy's Air Adventure, Five Nights at Freddy's. Bad gameplay with even worse graphics, but hey, they got the job done. People were suddenly talking about the clues inside of these things, searching for the hidden
So it's
lore. They
merging
were
with the real
actively
world,
making
alright.
jokes about dead kids at pizzerias. Her husband's twisted history of serial murder had suddenly been reduced to a mere Nancy Drew mystery to be solved. The plan had worked. Freddy Fazbear's was suddenly more popular than ever. Things were going shockingly well. Her takeover and reboot of the franchise was full and complete. Suddenly infused with cash, she built the largest, most ambitious project yet, the Mega PizzaPlex.
PizzaPlex.
William had always been so visionary, but always thought so small scale. He was careful to a fault. Not her, though. She knew that this latest project
Yeah,
needed
fair
to be
enough.
big. It needed to be flashy. It needed to be a palace for children. A place that got people talking and checking out the latest in Fazbear products.
They also made the animatronics hot. Both in universe and, you know, out in the real world. I feel like that's a marketing strategy that worked, to say the least. It did work.
So with a steady supply of...
Because I swear to God, when Security Breach came out, some people just like it because of the animatronics character.
remnant flowing in, it was finally time. The stage was set. It was time to get to her real goal, literally rebuilding a family. March 2035. The first was obvious. The crying child, her little boy, the one that was the first to get ripped away from her. She'd seen down in his bunker that William had gotten very close to replicating artificial humans using animatronic technology. And so that's exactly what she would do. Rebuild her boy from the ground up using robotic parts. His shaggy brown hair, his favorite striped shirt, even down to small details that no one would notice, like the band-aid on his left knee. William's research had even found ways of making animatronics that could bleed.
It's Gregory.
Making them virtually indistinguishable from a typical human. He would never have any idea of what he actually was unless he was explicitly told. The only things that could possibly ruin the illusion were any overrides to his internal systems. If something were to say, interfere...
I could write in chat. No, I don't think. That's too much. What happened to chat? She can't hear it. I disabled it for a while because TTS was going a little hog wild because chat is moving faster than I guess I was prepared for. It is disabled for now. I can see chat is fine. It just wasn't reading it out loud, and I glance over it sometimes. But I want to ultimately focus on the video right now. But genuinely, don't write stories in the chat. That's a little too much.
With the cameras that he had in his eyes, or cause some sort of a core reboot to his hard drive, or x-ray his metallic bones, then yeah, he would be exposed. But otherwise, to the outside world, he was just your typical, normal human boy. She worked down in the bowels of the PizzaPlex, giving him life, but it was one thing to build him, it was another to help him remember his identity. He died so young, so early.
It's a good story. I'm not doubting that, but again, I want to keep chat at least vaguely relevant, and if you want to, you know, pursue a conversation with a chat member, you can put your Twitter there, or, you know, another way to contact another person. Please don't do it in chat.
There's no preserved memories,
politely
no
asking.
documentation that she could just download into his digital brain. So bit by bit, she trained him, forcing him to remember who he was. In a corner of the room, she even made a
yeah, I do
dinner
remember this
table,
room.
a reminder of their happier days. The family recreated 2 brothers, a sister, a father, and the mother.
The fact that the missing child literally has no head is crazy. At least, right? Is it? Yeah, it has to be, like, because he's the one who got his neck snapped off.
The one in charge, the one in command, the one bringing all of this to fruition.
Girl
But
boss
his
for real.
progress was admittedly slower than she would have liked. At first, he could only communicate through simple ones and zeros,
Post-it
then
room.
rudimentary
Yep.
drawings and crude letters. But bit by bit, images of his past life started to come through. Balloons, colors, houses, bears and faces, birthday parties. All for me. Gregory was alive. As the robot boy embraced her, she felt a warmth that she hadn't in decades. This was the joy that she'd been working towards. This was what it was all for. Her son.
But now you're bringing back the murderer serial killer. Oh.
In her arms again. The plan
This
was
is
working.
nice, but
She had to
also
keep going. Next was
don't
William.
keep
the family
going.
was truly going to be put together, she would need him. And she knew exactly where he was, in the ruins of that old Freddy Fazbear's pizza place where Henry had trapped him. In fact, that's specifically why she insisted on building the Pizzaplex there over the sinkhole. It was the best place to hide what her true intentions were with the entire operation. Digging through the wreckage, she found him. He was right where she thought he'd be. Seeing the putrid shell of the Springtrap suit, though, was not something she was prepared for. The rotting corpse of William Afton was...
The skull showing does kind of feel... the fact that it's low quality, too. Fucking hell, dude. The FNAF timeline is just sad. It's completely confusing and complex. Yeah, it's like... It's... Because at a certain point, it makes sense to, like... the lore to me. Because, like, everything after Pizzeria Simulators feels kind of weird. I don't like it. But, like... I mean, MadPat likes it. Maybe. My kittens are biting my Whoa. That is... What? I'm concerned for your safety. Is your cats... Are your cats harming you? Okay, back to the story thing. Please, again, keep the chat relevant if you want to pursue you know, contact with another chatter, or you want to tell us this is not the place for it. Genuinely, please restrain.
Disgusting. Scorched flesh fused into the fur lining. Hollow black sockets where eyes once were. A smell that reeked of burned carbon and bloody iron. He was no longer flesh.
At this point of the story, I know where this is going, right? The mom is gonna revive the dead serial killer. He's gonna be a digital entity, and then there's Vanessa there to be the daughter, and then there's fucking Gamrock, Freddy. I know where largely this is going, but like, doesn't mean I have to like it.
It was just the tangled sinews of a creature that was once called human. How far this brilliant man had fallen. It was clear that her work was cut out for her on this one. Afton was practically lifeless. The man may not have been able to die, but he was about as close as you could come. And his body would need a lot of reconstruction. Replacement arms and endoskeleton reinforcements were the top priority. Maybe pulled from their new line of glam rock animatronics. She'd have to see if they had any spare body parts lying around that they could steal. In the meantime, though, she threw the husk that was once her husband into a life support pod infused with aerosolized remnant to help keep him stable. But more important than recovering his body was recovering his mind. In his current state, he was comatose, an empty shell. Severe brain damage starts—
Right, you'll just have to forgive me for this part of the video where I kind of contradict my reaction etiquette, where I just let the video play a little bit, because I know where this is going and I'm kind of tired of it. Modern FNAF is so weird, man. I don't...
to temperatures over 108 degrees Fahrenheit. 42 degrees Celsius, and years of repeated fires had burned his brain to goo. Gone was the brilliant, frustrating mind that had drawn her to him in the first place. But she had a plan. Unlike her darling boy Gregory, Afton had found ways to record his consciousness. Fundamentally, the brain is only a series of electrical connections after all, so why couldn't you replicate that in the form of a standard circuit board?
Sure.
In essence, you could create a digital consciousness. And one thing she knew about William, he was nothing if not cautious. A planner. Someone who had backup plans to his backup plans. And
Please
sure
stop
enough,
having
there it
backup
was,
plans.
buried in piles of old animatronic CPUs, a record of Afton himself.
What?
But she needed someone to test it.
Someone was
What is
definitely
this?
here during the
Dude.
night. It had to have been the client. I mean, they sent us that stuff in the first place with no explanation, told us to scan it, said it would expedite the process so we wouldn't...
You know about the thing about like transhumanism, where if you replace every piece of a human enough, is still a human? I feel that way with Afton. It's like, dude, you have died like so many times and now is a digital consciousness. Are you actually alive? Like, at this point, like, are you?
need to program any pathfinding ourselves.
Unlike the other games that she'd paid to have made in the past, this one had a different
Afton
purpose.
is hot, like
this
burning.
wasn't about PR.
Yeah,
it was about getting
very
William
literal.
back up and running, spreading his virus to the masses.
You acknowledge that Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for accidental digital consciousness transference, real-world manifestations of digital characters.
She hired a new developer, Silver Parasol Games.
Indie
to
horror
scan the
got a
boards and
digital
bring her husband
consciousness. I
into
get
the
it.
system. And because of the immersive nature of VR, William's consciousness would be able to merge with the player, giving him a new body, a new agency. There was just one complication. Afton's hold wasn't as powerful as she had hoped. He wasn't able to gain complete control. The first trial run, Jeremy, was so desperate to escape from his grasp that he sliced his own face off with a paper shredder. Messy. Afton's followers were reluctant, to say the least. But it was the second attempt that looked like it had the potential to kill two birds with one stone. Enter Vanessa. Mrs. Afton wanted a surrogate
there's
daughter.
Vanessa,
Her darling
and you're
Elizabeth
gonna get
would have been a
possessed.
young woman at this point if she had
Oh my
lived.
god, she's
Sarah
just like
wanted
my
someone who
daughter.
wasn't Elizabeth, but could be just like her. Could she have just rebuilt her like Gregory? Sure, but she decided against it because she wanted an actual human mother-daughter connection. Well,
Sure.
that, and it would be redundant and narratively unsatisfying to have two robot kids in the same family. What could she say? William had put a lot of tools on the table for her to use, and she was planning on using them all. Plus, Elizabeth
Where's my
had always
goodbye?
been so
I just saw
loyal
it, sorry.
to
Bye-bye. Have a nice day, night. I'm not actually sure. It's blurring in my head.
Daddy. It was time to give her a second chance, a true choice. And Vanessa seemed to be the perfect candidate to fill the role.
Your dad's name was Bill. Your dad didn't play fair, did he?
Oh.
He used to make your mum look
So when the mom said, yeah, she's just like my daughter, she meant familial trauma from deadbeat dad. Okay.
bad in court. He manipulated you.
Oh, no, not
I know
deadbeat,
your
just like really manipulative.
After she
Evil.
lost the custody case. I was supposed to be a good girl.
She started as a QA tester at Silver Parasol Games, the VR game development company that was part of her plan to bring back William. But more importantly, Vanessa checked all the correct boxes.
I'm
right age,
following.
blonde, green eyes, with a fondness for flowers and the outdoors. In many ways, it was her daughter all over again. Except
This entire family is like is made of 2 evil adults and 3 kids that are dead, a hero, and dead kind of.
wasn't just
They're all dead, but like in a way. But some of them live longer than others.
looks and personality. What really mattered was Vanessa's mind. Underconfident, coming from a broken home, motherless,
Yeah.
able to be manipulated. Yes. she would
It's
do
very evil
this.
behavior
She
from
would be
mom
the
over
one
here.
to save dear old daddy, just as the real
I
Elizabeth
was
would want.
rooting for her too.
Make you proud, Daddy.
While testing the VR game, William's digital consciousness merged with Vanessa. Oh sure, she fought, fragmenting Afton's code into a series of tapes hidden across the game, trying to do web searches to regain control over her life, but it wasn't enough. She was weaker than Jeremy. She was a thrall that, despite occasional moments of lucidity, had to obey. And with Vanessa, it was a 2-for-1 deal. She was getting a daughter back, while also bringing her husband one step closer to reactive.
So, in one body you have both your daughter and your husband, which is okay. I'm following, I guess.
She just had to make sure that Vanessa was headed the right way. The reborn Gregory was an expert.
Why do you
hacker, part of
put
the
like the meme glasses on him? What is happening? He cited his own theory and then put this image video, I guess, on screen. What is the context behind this particular scene?
Benefits of being an Afton and a robot. So Clara had him keeping tabs on Vanessa, hacking into her emails and trailing her therapy sessions to ensure the future Elizabeth was falling in line. If any of the therapists started to ask too many questions, they were promptly dismissed from their positions. And while Gregory kept tabs on Vanessa's personal life, Mrs. Afton made sure to clear a path for her professionally. With Silver Parasol's collapse at the hands of the anomaly, she then had the possessed Vanessa bring the contaminated circuit boards to
After
DLC
3 months, I'm
shipping,
making
the
pancakes.
Fazbear Funtime
Make some for me
service.
too.
More
I also need a
glitches,
break.
More remnant, more Afton. But it was
More
her last move that
Afton.
was the best. In a true masterpiece of poetry, she brought Vanessa over to be chief security officer at the Pizzaplex. A true family tradition to don the hat and badge, and all it took was a recommendation from the top as well as some emails marked for deletion. Sure, Vanessa didn't have relevant experience for the job, but when it comes directly from the CEO, does it really matter? Husband, son, daughter. A corpse, a robot, a human. All that was left was Michael.
Okay, that's a deal now. After stream, we're all
Boy that
having
killed the
pancakes.
youngest. The one that would spend years trying to make his guilty conscience right again. A self-professed protector. While she knew she needed him to complete the family, something told her that the problem had already solved itself. Something had shifted when using Glamrock Freddy to excavate the buried pizza place.
I have been here before. I found myself for the first time when I cleared the path. I have changed. My friends are here, but I can protect you. I am not me.
Maybe it was the remnant that had coursed through Michael's veins. Maybe it was the spirit of Michael living on as a protector. But he was there, somewhere inside of Glamrock Freddy. She could feel it. And just like that, she'd won. She'd done it.
I will
Sure,
make
there were
thousands
still
for
some things to
everyone
work
in
out,
stream.
some final brainwashing
There
of Vanessa.
isn't that much. This stream has been hugely successful for me on like my scale, but there's not 1,000. I don't think we can do all that. I do like pancakes, but I think 1,000 would be too much. Again, that's just me. The rest of the people here can confirm whether or not they can devour at least I don't know, 300
Rehabilitation of
to
William.
contribute.
They were there.
Eggs and
Finally,
bacon,
all
yes.
together again.
To clarify, it is evening for me. This is dinner time. And pancakes, eggs, and bacon does sound good.
Under one roof, the Aftons reunited. A happy ending. And that's how it could have ended. That's how it should have ended. Had it not been
No,
for
it
a
should have
few
ended at FNAF 6. I think.
unanticipated developments. For one, something was just wrong with the Pizzaplex. Almost as if the entire building was haunted, possessed. Puppet plushies hiding on ceilings, behind crates, places that they had no
fact that
earthly
the
way of
plushies are
belonging.
the
Staff bots
haunting,
with greasy
like,
tears
thing.
down their
It's kinda
eyes,
funny.
acting like they were being puppeteered by some sort of a nightmare. Even their sounds had the echo of nightmares long past. It was as though a
I didn't hear
guardian
it. Wait,
spirit
wait.
passed. It was as though
Oh, yeah,
a
I
guardian
can.
spirit of the past
Yeah.
refused to move on. As long as her husband was
Okay, chat did confirm they can eat a fuck ton of pancakes.
around, it too would linger. Only now, it wasn't just in one body, but it was in the essence of the building itself. She had seen stories of houses built on burial grounds getting possessed by angry spirits, but she'd never assumed that it could be real. Then again, in a world of living spirit metal and mind-controlling glitches,
Everything
who
is
was she to be
wrong
so
in that place.
judgmental?
Fair,
The whole
very
thing
fair.
was ridiculous. Why would
I'm
thi-
surprised if there isn't anything wrong. Like, because they have to continue it somehow, right?
This be the line that she refused to
Genuinely,
cross.
I am looking forward to how FNAF would like continue in years to come, because this is already ridiculous. This is already too long.
After all, the Pizza
with
Plex
like the same set of character. Like, come on, we gotta like do a little refresh. We've got us at some point stop reviving people. not even limited to William. Just stop reviving people. Keep them dead. Bring in new characters. Please. I need something, please.
Was built over the burial ground of angry spirits, but it was the power cords that finally convinced her that something was wrong. Suddenly, these cords were striped black and white, like the security puppet from generations ago. The very foundations of this place.
Guys, stop competing on who can eat more pizzas. We're not having pizzas. Not today. I mean, it would be kind of on theme if we did, you know.
Materials and wires that constituted it were rebelling against her, against the Aftons, against the quest to bring them all together again. And it was being helped by something else, something slithering through the building. Maybe they were connected, she
blob.
Couldn't be sure, but a blob of living wires could be heard oozing through the walls, stealing pieces and parts of the old animatronics showcased in Rockstar Row. She could only assume that it was a byproduct of all the remnant they'd been collecting. From Afton's testing, she knew that both light and dark remnant existed, one of positive emotions and the other created from
so remnant isn't dead kids, it is emotions, right? Am I like getting it right? No one cares.
Perhaps this.
It's fine.
This thing was an amalgamation of all the darkest parts of the pizzeria's history. A collection of the hatred still housed
the blob.
inside these defunct endoskeletons and exosuits. As long as it was left alone, it seemed to be harmless. But if any Afton outside of Michael got too close, it would lash out wildly. Even young Gregory, looking to punish the family that had been complicit in its horrible creation. Little did she know, though,
Gregory doesn't have any, like... I mean... No. I don't feel like that's fair for it to be Gregory, though, because Michael has the soul, right? Presumably that if he is Glamrock Freddy, has the soul of the person. Gregory just is a replica of, you know, the crying child. He doesn't have like the original like sentient soul of like the actual kid. Like, okay, it is fair for the blob to react to the mom, the dad. But, like, that particular robot kid doesn't have the original soul, right? Why does it, like, do that?
Gregory should have been her biggest concern, that bringing the family together would have some unforeseen consequences. Gregory was normally the goodest of boys. She had literally built him that way. But lately, he'd been disappearing more and more often, disobeying her orders. Requests. She knew that he loved playing on the arcade machines once the PizzaPlex closed, being so good as to top the leaderboard on practically all of them. But lately, he was nowhere to be found. She suspected his absence had to do with Glamrock Freddy's failed performance the other night, when he malfunctioned live on stage. Almost as though the core programming of Freddy responded to seeing this rebuilt small boy.
Good luck with that. What?
Into something inside of him. She'd have to make sure that Vanessa was on the lookout for him. But she'd soon come to learn that Vanessa wasn't enough. Whether it was the influence of the nightmare puppet or a reawakened hatred of animatronics,
this is just the plot of Security Breach.
Something had caused him to rebel, to rip apart each animatronic in the
I mean, they were trying to
bit
kill
by
him,
bit,
kind
this
of.
boy was tearing down the empire that she'd so painstakingly built, freeing Vanessa from her mind control, destroying the remains of Afton in the basement, setting Glamrock Freddy loose. As her carefully created world crumbled around her one more time, she began to plot her revenge. She would have to bring them all to ruin. And there you have it, my friends, nearly a decade in the making.
Yay!
My FNAF time for where the franchise is here in 2020.
It's not. The video's not over, MadPat. Video's not over. What is left?
Fazbear Frights, by the way. As always, it wouldn't be right for me to finish without going over some of the more controversial takes that I just handed out. I think we can all agree that this part of the timeline was always going to be the hardest. So let me just break down some of the major points.
Messy.
First of all, the biggest swing of this episode, and obviously the one that everything else rests upon, Mrs. Afton being the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment LLC. Here's why I went with this route. Now, first and foremost, the head of Fazbear Entertainment is the single biggest mystery that we're meant to solve at this point in the lore. The Ultimate Guide brings it up repeatedly. Who's running the show? Who is okaying these decisions? And in the security breach memos, we get multiple mentions of someone manipulating things from the top down. Whoever this is, they are the person driving forward every other facet of late-stage FNAF lore here. They're the puppet master who's hiring the indie dev. They're the ones relaunching the brand, building the PizzaPlex over the burial ground. So everything at the end of the timeline relies on this one singular answer. Now, as I see it, there are two possibilities here. One, an adult robot Elizabeth, like we see older versions of of robot kids in the fourth closet, or Mrs. Afton? Could it be someone completely new to the franchise? Absolutely yes, but in a game with so many returning faces and repeated themes, it would be pretty random and arbitrary.
Yeah,
so, between these two girl bosses, who then would it be? Well, Elizabeth always wants to please her daddy, so she'd be most likely wanting to bring him to life. But then, what's Vanessa's role in all of this? Vanessa is clearly meant to be a parallel for Elizabeth. Same hair, same eyes, similar backstories, but if the main goal is getting the Afton family back together, which seems to clearly be the case in Security Breach, then there's no need for Vanessa to be involved at all. We already have Elizabeth running the show. It would also mean that we suddenly have 2 robot kids running around, which feels narratively repetitive and quite frankly kind of dumb. Now look at Mrs. Afton.
But one robot kid is fine, right? That's like that's a line here.
To nothing about her outside of any clues that we can get from Immortal.
You guys can have food in
Valora
chat.
song.
I am
I
am silently spectating the party lunch or breakfast going on here.
Is make every other piece of the lore fit. Suddenly, you can have one of every other type of character. One robot kid in Gregory, one brainwashed human in Elizabeth/Vanessa, one OG corpse in William, and one possessed animatronic in Mike. Narratively, it makes everything else cleaner. Legally, it's also the option that makes the most sense. As I call out in my narrative, she'd likely have some stake in the original company and all of its assets. So as Fazbear folds as a company, I'd suspect a lot of it would return back to her. But there was one clue that really sold me on this particular direction, and that was this right here in the post-it room, the big lore central of Security Breach.
Yeah, I mean it is very explicit, like the lore central thing.
Scene with the whole family, including the mother. And not only is she there, she is at the head of that table, the position of highest honor and responsibility. She is the one in charge, with William being relegated off to the side. That one scene shows
God, he's being pushed aside for once. Ugh.
We have to include Mom in there somewhere, and the only place that makes sense for her to be is at the top. Now, there is one big dilemma with my
girl boss, gaslight, revive, serial killer, all that, you know, typical stuff.
Of all this, the Ultimate Guide really seems to point out that the head of Fazbear doesn't want the glitch trap virus to spread. They call out one particular email in FNAF AR where the legal team calls a cease and desist to all action about scanning the circuit boards. And even in FNAF VR, we're told that the circuit boards get stolen back by the client, presumably once they realize what danger is on there, trying to stop glitch trap before he spreads and gets out of hand. Here's the problem with that though: if the head of Fazbear doesn't want Afton to rise again, why'd they restart the company in the first place? Why'd they build over the FNAF 6 pizzeria? Why'd they go through an elaborate cover-up to make the possessed Vanessa an important part of the company? Just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
FNAF as a franchise doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
But I did want to call attention to it since it seems to be the route that the official guide is trying to steer us towards. Moving on to minor point number 1, the Five Nights at Freddy's games were made by the rogue indie developer. Here's the thing, FNAF VR opens with this line.
That's why we have recreated many of these completely fictitious scenarios, lies that you've been fed.
I remember this moment. I was like, oh my god, they're breaking the fourth wall.
It's recreating the lies told to you by the indie developer. And since Help Wanted has direct recreations of FNAFs 1 through 3, it means the game.
You guys are burning yourselves at lunch, at like breakfast right now.
Also, all of this is heavily implied in the story of the same name, Help Wanted and Tales of the Pizzaplex, hence FNAF 1 through 3, canon games within the lore of the series. Big swing number 2, the elephant, or ghost in the room, Charlie infecting the Pizzaplex. John from the channel FNAF has made some great findings about Charlie's influence over the Pizzaplex. The cables that looked like the striped arms of the puppet, the nightmare plushies that you find hidden across the Pizzaplex in weird places, the staff bots with creepy smiles and in your dreams written on the front. All of these things scream puppets. Plus, with the puppet mask not having tears in the blob, seems to imply that Charlie's spirit exists elsewhere. She is still in play, and she has an important role.
I get the symbolism. Yep, tears, spirit there.
The doors to the post-it room in the game's code are called Charlie doors, and inside we see a bunch of
that's very explicit.
Staff bot heads. Suspicious, to say the least. The channel
Why would you name a door after a person?
Theory looking at the post-it notes, concluding that the crying child / Gregory isn't alone in this room, but rather might be communicating with someone. A spirit, Charlie. Charlie's spirit seems to have pulled a poltergeist. Instead of controlling one thing, she's affecting a lot of little details, foundational elements of the Pizzaplex. And this isn't the first time that we've seen this in the franchise either. We've seen spirits communicating with people through physical writing in the survival logbook. So we know
William Afton tongue I stole it when I was doing all his knife stabbing.
And I suspect that to some extent it might be
okay, the world is merging over.
Gregory go haywire,
William Afton is now involved in this breakfast party, and I don't know how to feel about that.
Then to my final and probably
Subscribe
biggest controversy in
for
recent
more
FNAF history,
content?
Gregory as Patient 46, the evil robot mastermind. Now, I know when I first came out with this theory a year ago, people were
people
mad.
freak out about
You don't have
it.
to take my evidence points for it anymore. The recent Tales from the PizzaPlex story GGY basically goes and just outright proves it. In GGY, we find out about a boy named Gregory who's getting all the high scores in the PizzaPlex arcade machines. When
straight up just what happened.
It's confirmed that GGY is the one that's working to bump him off. And when animatronics start getting corrupted by a mysterious glitch, GGY's letters are found inside the code. He even chooses the code name Dr. Rabbit, for crying out loud. But obviously, by the time of security breach, Gregory is working against Burn Trap, Vanessa, and the animatronics. Why? How? Well, it's not really clear. I tend to believe that something must have happened to cause him to either lose his memory or be reset in some way. Maybe it was Charlie talking to him in his post-it room. Maybe he hit his head. Maybe it was the connection that he made with Mike on stage in Glamrock Freddy.
We're still not clear about why Glamrock Freddy exactly went, malfunctioned. Because it's clearly important if they, make it that way. It looks... Because, we're not exactly made aware of what happened.
I think we have enough clues to solve any of it yet. But it makes sense from a story.
William Afton was possessing the pancakes. Right, so, would you guys do me a favor and eat all of that? Because, before I end stream and start combing through all of them, thanks.
Story perspective, why you'd start off evil on Afton's side and then switch to trying
Subscribe
to destroy
for more
him and
William
not
Afton
knowing who he is in
breakfast
security
tongue. Wild sentence, I agree with. Thanks for doing subscriber plug for me. But I don't think we're gonna hit one more subscriber because 69 is a funny number.
And with that, my friends, I'm wrapping this thing up. Congratulations, we are
Yay!
on page 40. 22,000 words of FNAF, baby. Practically
I
just wrote
almost
myself
threw
a Tales
up.
of the PizzaPlex short story. Have I answered everything?
That's
Does everything fit
disgusting.
Cleanly? No.
Not
Does
you,
it
Matt
feel
Pat,
like the best
me.
and most cohesive narrative for all these characters that addresses most of the evidence we're given? Yeah, for me,
Yeah,
honestly,
it's the
it
best
really does.
we
So
can
let's be
do.
honest with ourselves, the DLC will probably come out later this year and prove me completely wrong. Wouldn't be the first time.
I don't
Then
know, I don't
comes the
remember.
movie, whatever.
Is
My
it?
descent
I
into
don't think
madness
so.
continues. But regardless,
The fact that this came out before Ruin is weird. While it's a timeline, oof, my head is malfunctioning. Also, let's get Kirby out of here. Bye-bye, Kirby. A stream is ending. Bye-bye. Good run. I'm screening... I can't speak words. We're switching to the screen for a second. Purple pancakes. With that final send-off that our chatters, at the very least one, have officially been possessed and or died. Oh wait, I can do the. No, I'm not gonna steal his intro. I don't have enough energy. No, Kirby has to go though. Kirby has to go. With all that said, signing off. Not that one, not that one. It's this one. Yeah. Oh, I clicked to the wrong screen. That was embarrassing. Enjoy the music and the funky animation. I'm gonna go drink water.